Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode number 421. We're through. My name is Paul. I'm joined as always by my son, Chris Reagan. Chris, good to see you today, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. Not much to report. It's a standard day. Apparently, we have an air quality alert.
Oh.
In LA right now. I don't know why. I don't think there's a fire going on, although there probably always is.
Yeah. We've had it really bad here. It's gotten better, but the Canadian fires, which are nuts, or I don't know if they're still going, but it smelled like LA. Like it was, you know how smell is so closely tied to memory? And I was smelling it, and I'm like, it smells like the Bel Air fire, which I lived in LA for, where it was like post-apocalyptic.
It's crazy.
And I was like, oh, it's so weird. But yeah, it travels on the jet stream. So we've actually had horrible air quality here as well. Thank you, Canada. Manage your forest, perhaps. I don't know. People say that all the time, like, oh, what are you doing with your forest management? I'm like, I don't know. I think these things just kind of burn sometimes. It's got to happen.
Yeah, it feels kind of like nature. A fool's errand. You know, being like, oh, we're going to try and make the naturally occurring fires happen less. It's like, I don't know how much you can really do. Like, you can do a lot. I'm sure there's many that have been prevented, but they're going to happen.
As I understand, too, my dad used to say this. My dad was a firefighter, as people know, is like, the more you try to prevent it, the worse the fire is going to become because you're not letting it happen. And then there's like hundreds of years of underbrush and all these kinds of things. Like lightning,
right.
Back in the day, lightning pop a forest, and then it could go for a month. But that was like kind of the natural way of things.
Right.
Not that you want that to happen today. No one wants that, but I understand, man, the air quality situation's dire right now all around the United States. Yeah. But nothing else to report. Nothing else going on in your life of any interest.
No, it was a really mundane week, which is nice.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. You know,
it's nice.
I don't know. It's easy to be like, oh man, everything's boring, but it's like sometimes things are eventful and not in a good way. So I'll take a bland week over an exciting week that happens to be stressful. You know, I'm good with that.
Good,
it's fine.
Very well. Yeah, nothing happening here either. Really, what happened last week? On Friday night, Mike and I went to nice hotel, had dinner, suited up, stayed at that place. That was fun. Then just hung out over the weekend. Been playing a lot of chess. I have a 61-day streak going on chess.com, which is funny, of just playing every day for 61 days. And now I feel his knees coming. Oh God, I hate that.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you. Dude, I think I've probably reflected on this on the show, but like I have allergies all of a sudden over the last few years. I don't know what that happened. I think it's just the different flora down here. Never ends. I have to blow my nose when I wake up every day. Like it's not that big of a deal, but it's like, what? Like this for 37 years, I didn't suffer from any such ailment.
Dude, it sucks. It sucks randomly accruing allergies. But it happens.
they're like debuffs. Yeah. And I always, it's funny to say, I mean, I'm joking, but like I would always look at people be like, I'm allergic to mildew or something. And I'm like, shut up. What the fuck are you talking? Or like, it's dusty in here, And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking kill you. Breathe the air. But now I'm one of these people that's getting taken out by some bullshit. I don't know. Some bullshit, some nonsense. Thanks for that.
Never ends.
No, it never does. Saw you streaming Marathon yesterday, which was fun.
Yeah, that was a fun time. It was because they have the new they're doing like a really I guess like a temporary PvE kind of experiment. There's a proper PvE mode I think coming in September, which is like a terrible time to release anything. But they're doing that, and so this is I guess like an experimental PvE version of whatever the end game map is, Cryo Archive, and it's pretty cool. I like it. I like a way to engage with that game in a way that isn't incredibly stressful. Because that is the one thing about it, where it's just like, this is a great, like, Bungie games feel really good to interact with, but like, I'm not always in the mood to like gamble all of the fruits of my hard work on getting matched with like people who are bad at the game, and then I get fucked, and then I lose everything. Sometimes I'm in that mood.
Right.
Not always.
Right.
So it's good.
Yeah, I totally understand. I thought that was what was fun about Helldivers for me. It wasn't, I wasn't stressed. I wasn't any more or less stressed than basically anyone else for the same reason. So like, I mean, it was all kind of supposed to be going in one direction. I have a hard time with, it's funny because I was just saying I'm playing chess and I'm playing people from around the world. Presumably I could be playing who the fuck knows, but did I tell you on chess.com, it's so funny if you play a Russian person, Russia is so important at chess that I guess they don't want to get rid of them, right? Or like block them.
What do you mean?
Russia's like, chess is huge in Russia.
Sure.
And so it's like, it'll say like Long Island Viper with a little American flag or whatever. But for them, it's like, Russian name, gray box because of the Ukraine thing. But I thought it was funny because I'm like, they don't want to go all the way because they need them.
Right.
You're always playing Russians on there, but we'll still make it so like, we know what country you're from. We're just not going to show your flag kind of sitch.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting.
That's awesome.
They often beat me as well, which is not a huge surprise. They love chat. I don't know why. It's the same thing with hockey, which is kind of interesting. Hockey is a Canadian sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that now Russia's a winter kingdom, as it were, and of course they would take the things like that. It's just funny, like certain things. I'm like, why chess? Why hockey?
I think it's
like,
because
why all
their
these
buildings. It's because their buildings look like chess pieces.
Yes, they do. Very brutalist.
Yeah, when I think about the Tetris cover art, that's a bunch of chess pieces.
That's
true.
I mean?
It looks like there's one that distinctly that distinctly on that cover of the original Tetris anyway for the Game Boy that looks exactly like the bishop or something like that. And I remember always looking at it and being like, what is this? What place is this?
That NES box art is iconic, like the pitched angle of the blocks coming down and that purple.
Right. Yeah.
That was ubiquitous, dude. Everyone had that game. Can I make it? I'm just going to tell you. I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago. I was thinking about Tetris and I'm like, oh, Tetra. Like 4 blocks. Tetris.
Yeah.
Just never thought about it.
It is funny how like that. I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
there's so many examples of that. I'm sure, like, I'm blanking on it now because, of course, that always happens when things are relevant to the conversation. But like that, when you feel like when you realize something that has been so self-evidently obvious in like your 30s or like your 40s, and you're like, how did I not know this? When it's been staring me in the face,
right,
this entire time,
right.
I don't know.
It's an embarrassment, really, but it is what
Tragic.
It is. I realized that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 7 inquiries at the end of the show. I got to delete one of these. I forgot to delete one of them. I guess we'll just get rid of 1, 2, 3. Well, yeah, we'll just get rid of this one. All right.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I used to love that show.
Me too.
Yeah, that was a great show because of the risk reward angle. I loved that. Of like having the trust the people around you and just kind of getting the chain of questions, right? And then someone blows it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was great. Everyone would be mad at each other. Like
That
sitting at
didn't
a
last-
blackjack table.
It didn't last that long, right? Like, because that's one of those shows that I associate with a very specific point in time. It's not like all these other, like, sometimes I'll see a new season of like a show that I thought was over in like the early 2000s. And I'm like,
right.
I can't believe that's still.
It's like when, remember Meredith Vieira used to do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in syndication during the day?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that and being like, what the fuck is this? Like bootleg.
Where's Regis?
Yeah, where's Reg?
Where's Reg?
I loved Regis, man. He was Regis Philbin was fucking awesome. Loved him.
We're on nickname basis with Reg.
You're absolutely right, though. Like that syndication stuff happened often, and these shows would just hang around, and then they film. It's like discovering when they do Jeopardy. They do like 5 or 7 a day when they record them, or the same thing with like Family Feud. Because I was always like, oh, the family wins 3 times, and it's like actually they were just there for like 5 hours, but it seemed like they were putting them up at a hotel and they'd make them change clothes and shit. I love that. Oh, it's so good. So interesting. All right. Well, Chris, it's good to be here with you today. Dustin's still out. Don't know when he'll be back. Whenever he wants, I guess. It's building up. I mean, we're almost in August. It's going to be slow for a while. Halo comes out soon, and then Beast of Reincarnation. I know people are interested in. I'm interested in that. And then, but then we get really into the busy season, and I assume by that point he'll want to be back in the fold. But we'll leave it up to him. So thank you for your continued kind words to him. I think he sees them. I don't know what he's really doing. I assume he's quietly stalking. I don't know. I don't presume to know. Maybe he's totally out.
Yeah, completely disconnected.
That'd be kind of cool. I mean, why not? Well, you're not missing much. Everyone's just whining about the same thing over and over again. It's enough already. Yeah.
It's enough already.
It's enough, man. My parents used to say it to me. Like, it's enough already.
Yeah.
That's when you knew they were like, my mom was like, it's enough.
That was a dangerous sentence.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, fair enough.
What do you got there?
Mom.
What's in that pen? What's in that Benjamin?
It's like a hybrid. I always get like the lightest one they have, because if you look at the THC stuff, you've seen this, I'm sure. It's like the percent. I'm like, what do you do? Like, what are you doing?
It's like 80%.
Yeah, I'm like, why? I like the subtleness of it. I like the oral fixation of it. I don't ever want to be like fucked. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I think that I smoke too much to ever be that way, even if it was stronger, but it's like, that's not what I'm really in for.
Yeah, I get it.
I did get pretty drunk at the hotel on Friday, which was fun. But that's the way it goes at a place like that. You know, you just got I love hospitality. Like the like high-end hospitality. I don't usually engage with it, but like the idea of like, of course, sir. You know, I'm in my suit. Mike is in her beautiful dress. We're in this beautiful restaurant. You order whatever you want. You sit, you look good. You feel good. What can I get you? Like the finest sir, like, what can I get you, sir? Bourbon old fashioned, please. Right away. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, I love that. I love that. Like, it's so cool.
I think I'm too in my head about that. I don't think I can enjoy it because because I'm thinking this guy's miserable.
Right. Yeah.
Like taking this, like he's like an automaton right now. He's probably like on autopilot. He's probably perfect. He's probably spiraling internally, and he's got like this perfect facade. It's like
right.
I'm always thinking about
his wife left him, and he fucking just wants to get out of there. And
right.
You're absolutely right. I do have a bit of a different view on it. Ramon, everyone knows Ramon, my best friend. He was a waiter for a long time, and would dwell in the space, and he would talk about this of like the professional waiter, like the professional wait staff, like at a restaurant that's really nice, where like it's a different sort of thing. And those people make decent money. So like I wonder like what their disposition is, even if they're having a bad day. It's like the guy that was waiting on us when we had dinner, for instance, he got like a $40 or $50 tip.
Yeah.
You know, it's not so bad.
No, that's a different. Yeah, it's a different echelon, I guess, because I associate it with just the people you run into on a daily basis at like the places where they're getting paid like literally evil wages.
Yeah, like Denny's.
You know, yeah, you're making 3 cents, making 3 cents an hour, and you're like, you'll make it up in gratuity, which we will take a percentage of course. So yeah, it's hard for me to even imagine that type of career in any other way than existing in some kind of contemplative resentment.
Why also is the word gratuity like the root gratuitous? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's I don't understand that either. You know, we'll leave that for another time.
It is fucking gratuitous.
It is. I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of how I feel about taxes, where I'm like, the income tax, for instance, like you get this money taken out, right? But I'm like, I think I'd prefer a consumption tax, where like you pay it at the point of sale. And it's the same thing with tipping, where I'm like, I think I might prefer the food to just be 20% more expensive. You know, it's all the same, but we don't have to do this whole thing.
Yeah, I get it. I understand it, but I'm always annoyed that I have to do it, because I feel like it feels like I'm rewarding bad behavior on the part of the business owner. Or it's just like, oh, you get to pay these people like $4, like below minimum wage, because there's like a thing where it's like, oh, okay, gratuity and all that. But it's like, why is it my responsibility? But I feel it.
Yeah,
like when I go to places, I always tip. Like even places where it's just like I'll get a coffee from a place where it's like you didn't really. Like, yeah,
that's not happening for me. It's the same thing. When you order Five Guys on the app, we do that like once a month, and you go to the checkout screen, and then it's like leave a tip, and it doesn't even give you zero. You have to go into like the manual, like another amount, and then I put $0. I'm like, a tip. I'm putting it in the app. I'm not even interacting with you, and then I'm going in and picking it up. The fuck am I tipping you for?
You're going
that kind of kind of shit. No, tip delivery drivers.
Yeah.
Tip your barber, tip the restaurant. That's about it. Even the hotel, like, leave a tip for the maid thing. I'm like, I don't think so, dude. Like, I'm sorry. This place was like $400 a night. You can figure it out. I'm not tipping the maid. I'm not tipping the maid. Yeah. It is I understand when foreigners come to the United States how put off they are by it, because it is. But people do say, I was seeing this a lot during the World Cup, people do say like the service is supreme here compared to Europe. And I've told you, I've experienced that. There's no tipping in Japan, but because they are an honor-bound society, the service is excellent. But in Europe, I'll tell you, man, like in my experiences there, not at all. Like, I said Ryan McCaffrey and I went to a place in Germany once, and we like left because it was like, what the fuck is going on here? Plus we were American. They probably didn't like us.
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't like us either if our grandfathers didn't bomb the shit out of that country, but it's what happened. I'm sorry. Shouldn't have been talking shit, I guess. Welcome to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. It's good to be here with you guys. We're here each and every week. We have been since July 2008. No, that's right. 2018, not 2008.
Oh my God.
That would be fucking awesome if we were. Maybe we'll get that far. I don't know about that, to be honest.
Oh my God.
That would be a long time. I'm not even sure PlayStation exists in 12 more years.
Yeah.
I mean, not the way we understand it. Who knows, though? But it's good to be here with you guys as always. And it's usually, like I said, the three of us, but it's the two of us for now, as Dustin's out on paternity leave, and we wish him the very best. Remember, you can get us 3 days early and ad-free over on Patreon. Patreon.com/laststandmedia. Early ad-free access to all the shows in the network, the ability to submit your inquiries to the various shows in the network. You can get Discord access if you want to deal with those crazy people, RSS and Spotify access as well, and more. And Sacred Symbols Plus each and every week, our weekly supplement to this show. I had Dawnwalker on the show last week, and that was what I was trying to keep a little hidden. A lot of people wouldn't know his name, but a lot of people on social media would know his name. He's a prodigious character artist, and probably one of the most outspoken people in the trenches in the entire industry. I don't know if he ever pops up on your Twitter feed.
Yeah.
But I've been fascinated by him because he's so, this is what I was talking to him a little bit on the show, was like, I appreciate his security in his position, that he can speak his mind. And if you look at his CV, I have it here, actually.
It's insane. Yeah. I watched that entire episode because it was actually incredibly interesting.
Thank you.
He's a character.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. I really, really enjoyed talking to him. And the funny thing about the conversation was I didn't get to anything I wanted to ask him because all we did was talk about his history. Yeah. So we'll have him back on in the months to come to talk more about other things. But yeah, he worked on Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight. He went to the London studio, RIP, and worked on PlayStation VR Worlds. He was at Creative Assembly and worked on Halo Wars 2. Mm-hmm. Then Rocksteady, Kill the Justice League, then Respawn, Survivor, Star Wars Survivor, and Apex Legends, then Naughty Dog, The Last of Us Online. And then Wildlight, Highguard. And now he's at Absurd Ventures. So which is Dan Houser's studio for people that don't know. So, and I had to say on the show, which is funny, created a little conflict of interest, which I didn't think of because I'm like, actually Absurd Ventures has sponsored this show because they did the podcast series. Remember we were at the time we were talking about how we don't want to take endemic money, but they are doing like all this other transmedia stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah.
So they did, it's called like A Better Tomorrow or something like that, the podcast series, and they sponsored us. So I actually it's a rare thing where I had to throw that in there, but we'll have him back on soon to talk more about the nitty gritty because I have all these questions in here about the future of gaming. And since he's in art, which is such a major part of why games have become so expensive, it'll be really interesting to speak to him more about that in the years to come. And Chocomat and a lot of other people agree. Chocomat12 says, hi, Chris and Colin, a kink in the armor. I could have said that, but I didn't. I just wanted to say that the Sacred Symbols Plus episode with Dawnwalker was just fantastic. What great insight, and can't wait for you to have him back on the show. Thanks for all you do. Thank you. I'm so glad it resonated with so many people. And of course, Sacred Streaming continues as well. Did Powerwash Simulator 2 Star Wars DLC on Monday, went deep into the lore surrounding my character. It was completely insane. And we had a good time. I'm almost done with it. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I just have to do the Millennium Falcon. That's the last job in the DLC expansion, but it's supposed to be like really fucking annoying. So I'm curious to see how that goes. I don't know if you play the game, but often it's like, here's a $250 job. Here's a $300 job. Here's like, and then it's like, here's a $1,000 job. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So Sacred Streaming will continue unabated Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what I'm going to do this week. I'll figure it out. I have an idea, but we'll see. But recent episodes, you can find them in VOD on YouTube. Moriarty X Jaffe we did recently. I had Lockmort on recently, of course, which was fun as well. Young Colin frickin' the chicken wrote in and said, howdy, Sacred Shells. Colin, now that Marathon's PvE mode is here, it's time for you to answer the call of Tau Ceti 4 and join Chris in defeating UESC clankers in Cryo Archive. Perhaps you can even assist him in finally defeating the compiler. Imagine how proud Dusty Boy will be when he returns to discover you've become a professional runner in his absence. Just be wary of the potential ghost commanders in the first room out of spawn. When Chris was streaming, I said in the chat that I was considering it. I think in the weeks to come, maybe we wait for the proper rollout in September, maybe. But I am down for that. It is like, I wish they would drop the price of the game a little bit. Actually, it might be on sale because they're doing a huge sale right now. I didn't even look. It might be on sale, but because it's like their big annual sale, but it's a little bit of a shame to have to pay $40 for it. But I am amenable to that. So keep an eye out. Perhaps we'll do that in the weeks or months to come. Merch, laststandmedia.store, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, stickers, etc. Please support us. JP wrote in and said, hey, Sacred Duo, relaying a missed Sacred Symbols connection mentioned on Punching Up. Gene said he saw someone at the press screening of The Odyssey in Silver Springs, Maryland. The fan was wearing a Sacred Symbols shirt. Just wanted to pass that along in case the listener doesn't tune in to Punching Up. Very interesting. I didn't know that. I don't listen to Punching Up. But I am pleased to hear that. Always love seeing stories of people seeing people in the wild. So
yeah,
very fun. Did you see The Odyssey? I'm not going to see it. I don't really give a shit, but
not yet. I will at some point. I just haven't had the time. I just haven't had like a good opportunity to go and sit. And I think there was one day where I was going to try and see it because I want to see it in IMAX. Because I saw like I saw a thing online of like how much of the screen is missing.
Right. Yeah. It is crazy.
And it did bother me.
Yeah.
Although I don't love like 4:3. I think because that's typically IMAX is like a box, or at least as far as I understand it. I don't love that, but I do want to see more of what they shot. And I think the one IMAX screening I saw had like the worst seats possible, and I was like, I'll get it another time. But I will see it. I am curious about it. I was obsessed with The Odyssey a long ass time ago, and now I kind of don't remember really any of it. Like there's parts of it that I obviously the arrows and the bag of wind and the Cyclops and all this. Like I remember all this, the peaks, I guess. But yeah, I'll get around to it at some point.
I've heard good things. I mean, it looks great.
It's a Christopher Nolan movie. He's hit or miss for me, in my opinion. Not necessarily as far as like quality goes. It's just like I just don't always give a shit about the stuff that like Tenet I wasn't even remotely curious about. Oppenheimer I thought was great. But there's like what's the big one that everybody loves?
Interstellar?
Yeah, I saw Interstellar and I was like, yeah.
Oh, that's like arguably my favorite movie. I love that movie. Yeah.
Like it's good. Like but I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
It didn't grab me as much.
I think he has like these tiers of movies where people really love things like Inception. Oh, Inception might be the other one you're talking about. And
yeah,
the Prestige and stuff like that are like really well respected. Then I think things might get a little more controversial with things like Dunkirk and Tenet and so on. So I've never seen the last one I saw was Dunkirk. I'm 3 movies behind because I've seen everything he's done up to that point, I think.
Did you like Dunkirk?
Yeah, I did. I really liked the I saw it with my brother and my dad on Long Island actually in summer 2017, I want to say. And I what I remember liking about it was like the fusion of the time frames. Because I think, isn't it like one person's like a day, one person's like an hour, one person's
Something
like a
like that,
minute, and they like I loved that. I thought that was really, really cool. Yeah, he's just really clever. He's just like, I'm not a movie guy. I like movies. Everyone likes movies, but I don't care too deeply about them. But I am very attracted to his movies, and Interstellar specifically really rocked me. Where I was like, wow. Like for me personally, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like this is incredible. You know, I felt that way kind of about Inception as well. I know Micah really likes the Magician one, The Prestige.
The Prestige is my personal, like, I love that one.
That is a good one. And I think that's his first major non-Batman one, I think. Like, because he did a bunch of other things like Memento and stuff, but like people didn't care too deeply, I don't think, until that movie. And then Inception, I think, really is where it kind of really all took off for him.
Yeah.
That's my outsider perspective.
Yeah, no, but even the Batman stuff, like I'm kind of like, yeah, I think it's fine, really. Like I like The Dark Knight, but like I kind of don't know if I don't know if I like it because the performances are really good. Like I think Heath Ledger's performance is amazing.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
And at the time, I remember that being like, I remember seeing it in the theater being like, this is crazy, because up until that point, there had only been one Joker, really. It was just Mark Hamill or like Cesar Romero, so it was like mega transformative. But when I think about like, oh, do I want to watch The Dark Knight? The answer is almost always no. Like I never really want to sit down and like, I think I'm going to watch The Dark Knight today. Not once.
Yeah,
I thought that.
I liked the first movie fine, like Batman Begins. And then I love Dark Knight Rises the best. Everyone knows I love Bane. I think Bane is the best. He's the best. Yes, brother.
Oh
yeah, like God. He's just an outrageous. And again, I brought this up a million times, but I love this about Christopher Nolan. Like the avant-garde kind of nature of it is that originally you weren't really supposed to understand him, which is like what I think is awesome. Like if you listen to the original dub, like you didn't really know what he was saying. And then when people were watching it, they're like, what the fuck is he like? And it bothered people and they went and dubbed it. That's why he sounds like that. But I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like that because I think he said in an interview, it's not important. You know? And I'm like, that's so interesting. Yeah.
It kind of isn't really. Like I don't remember The Dark Knight.
They have to find one of us in the wreckage, brother.
It's just like, all right, I guess, bro. It's so funny though, because you have that's the idea is interesting. I'm like, oh, you can't understand him, but then you also have Batman going
right.
So it's a nightmare. It's like a sensory nightmare.
Everyone's leaning forward, like.
Yeah, like, huh? Well, to be fair, this is a thing also with Christopher Nolan that bugs me. I don't mean this is going to be a Christopher Nolan cast, but like, I feel, and maybe it's just me, but like, I really feel like his sound mixing is awful. I feel like I can barely hear the people that I need to hear. Oppenheimer was like this a little bit, where like the music was always drowning people out, and I'm like, brother, these are scientists. I want to hear what they're saying. What is this fucking violin doing? I don't know. I feel deaf. I feel deaf when I watch Christopher Nolan's movies.
Right. That's why we're in the generation, we're millennials of we got to have the closed captioning on, man. I mean, that's me anyway. It's like I always have that on. Like
I wasn't always like that though. I swear to God, it got that way because I was just having a harder time hearing what people were saying because people got worse at mixing audio. I swear to God. I swear, like, because that would have never been a thing that I wanted in my media. Like, oh, I want the subtitles on always. I remember a time when that would annoy the shit out of me. But then it got to the point where I was like, what did he say? Why do? And then the character's whispering, and you're like, what? And then you raise the volume, and then it goes back to normal, and then it blows your fucking speakers out. I don't know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, I think it's probably been about 10 years where I just keep the closed captioning on like TV and not on like network TV, but I think it began with that Eggers movie, The Witch. Oh, where I'm like, I think I watched it for like 20 minutes, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck anyone has said the entire film. Like you're like waiting to get it, and I'm like, what?
I don't think I saw that one. Was that like a lot of accents and like whispering?
Yeah, it was like, and it was all naturally shot, like with no artificial lighting. It's totally, even I know that as a layman. I'm like, this is fucking beautiful. Like, this is incredible. There's candlelight, firelight, scary shit.
Yeah, Eggers is good.
It's the chick. I think the chick that's in Queen's Gambit. I think is in it, which is not really a very timely reference, but I know her from that. I think. I think
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she plays one of the characters in that. But that was a really good one. Do you know what bothers me about closed captioning though, Chris? Mike and I were talking about this recently when we were watching. Maybe it was Handmaid's Tale or something, where the closed captioning is showing you things people are saying that you would never hear.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like there's like a conversation going on in the background and I'm like, dude, I don't know how you're even getting this out of what they're saying. It's probably in the script, I assume, but that kind of shit annoys me a little bit. I'm like, let's just keep it focused on that shit bothers the hell out of me. I'm like, this whole conversation's happening. I would have never even known this.
Dude, that drove me insane I think it was one of the Final Fantasy VII remake games where like you'd be walking through a town and everybody would have a text box popping up. Everyone would have their conversations like popping up, but it would like the audio would be like the game would like treat their conversations as equally important as like the main character's conversation. I'm like, shut up. I don't care what the cobbler is talking about. It's insane. Metro Exodus had that problem too, I remember.
Right.
Not with the closed captioning, but like the audio being like
it's like proximity audio.
Yeah, it was just like everybody's conversations. Everyone's audio is at the top of the mix.
I forgot about that. You and I were laughing about that. I think when that game came out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, let's get into a few inquiries here. Then we'll get into the news as we always do. We'll get into what we're playing and we'll wrap up with more inquiries because I guess we aren't tired of hearing about you. There is some news this week, but not a huge amount. And so I went a little heavy with the inquiries here from the audience. We'll get through them. Brent Leo wrote in and said, first time writing in. I'm currently in the hospital waiting to have open heart surgery this Friday. I'm 39 and a single father of 3 young kids whom I've been raising all by myself. I just wanted to say thanks for helping me get through the long work days and my current situation with the upcoming surgery. You guys have been a great distraction from all the rough patches I've had to go through. Take care. Brent, we're wishing you the best. Open heart surgery is serious, but obviously very manageable. And we're wishing you the very best on the other side. Let us know when you wake up. The first thing I want you to do when you wake up is I want you to get on your phone and DM us. Yeah.
Very first thing before any family.
Right.
You notify us.
We're wishing you the very best, of course. Some dude in Florida wrote in and said, greetings and salutations. On the topic of your podcast being played in strange places, I manage a summer camp for kids ages 6 to 12. Uh-oh. On one of my very few breaks, I popped in my Bluetooth earbud and hit continue on the latest episode of Moriarty X Jaffe. Uh-oh. When it didn't start playing, I fumbled around on my phone and found that it wasn't actually connected to my earbud. Instead, I see that my phone is connected to a classroom speaker downstairs, and the video has been on for about a minute. I immediately stopped the episode and ran downstairs, imagining all the terrible things that could have been said in that minute. Turns out it was pretty much the worst case scenario. The kids had been quietly painting when the speaker abruptly started playing the stream audio with Jaffe speaking, and of course, it timed out perfectly so that the first thing the kids heard was Jaffe loudly proclaiming, "Your sister is a whore." The instructor in the room was apparently so confused and was getting the class to stop repeating "your sister is a whore" as I arrived. Needless to say, I received a few angry calls from parents the next day. Yikes, I lied and said a random passerby I connected to the Bluetooth speaker and it was a fluke. I think it's better that the parents don't know the manager of the department was responsible for teaching their kids some new colorful vocabulary. Anyway, 3 weeks of summer left and the end couldn't come sooner. Thanks for getting me through the long days of screaming children, especially when my phone is connected to the correct Bluetooth device. Rough.
I love the just like, yeah, I just lied.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Who cares? It's some fucking guy. You invented a person and saddled him with this crime. I love it. How old is what's the 6 through 12?
Yeah, that's a kind of a wide age range because by the time you're 10, 11, 12, you're a little more privy and a little more sly, and that would probably be a funny thing, confusing and cry worthy perhaps for a 6 or 7-year-old to hear Jaffe talk about anything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Did you ever go to camp?
I have vague memory. I did Cub Scouts, I think, and I don't know if that's necessarily camp, but I did go to a science camp where we built robots because I have glasses. So my parents threw me into a robot camp. It was cool, to be honest. It was, yeah, man, I used to be so smart. And then I just stopped. I was but I went, that science robot camp, I think, was like, 2005. So it's been a while, but not like traditional, like, oh, bring your sleeping bag, get a tent ready. I've never related to any of that, like the campground kind of thing.
Right.
I've never had that experience.
I always feel bad I don't feel bad. I mean, some kids like it, but it's like, there are parents, I even knew kids like this, where it's like, you're going to camp this summer. Like, you're not sitting around the house doing nothing, And I'm like, why not? Like my parents never, we were all the four of us, the kids were really active with sports and all these things. Dagan, not so much, but Dagan worked a job and was skating and doing his thing, art and stuff like that. So we all had our own interests. We were never I was never really bored as a kid, but I always felt for those kids where it's like, no, we're sending you away for like 10 weeks to like this camp. Bye. And I'm like, you just got out of school and now you got to go to fucking camp. Now, I went to camp for one summer, but it was like a day camp. It was the summer of 1993. And my mom and dad had just gotten divorced, and that was the first year I moved for the school year off of Long Island and went with my mom. I lived in Maine at the time. My mom was working at Business Express, which was a Delta connecting airline that would do like regional stuff, and she was like the head of flight attendants there. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, Business Express sounds completely fictional, by the way.
Yeah.
Business Express.
Yeah, Business Express. BEX was like the logo, and they were based out of New Hampshire. So I lived in like southern Maine, and my mom would have to go to work, so she would send me to this like day camp. And all I remember about it was that like I got picked on a lot. It was like the one, I've talked about this in the past about how I have to be honest and say that like most of my life I wasn't really picked on. I was kind of just anonymous. No one really busted my balls. I think a lot of it had to do with that fact that I had older siblings, and my older siblings' friends, little siblings, like one of them, Matt Spanky, his name was. He definitely like protected me in high school and like all those. So there was probably like subtle things around me that were happening that I wasn't quite privy to, because I was a nerd. I was in the 90s. I was prime for the picking. I mean, I'm just letting you know. I was reading Toy Fair and like playing fucking Legend of Dragoon and shit. Like, things that like would get you fucking stuffed in a locker.
Yeah.
But like that experience at that camp was the only time I remember really truly being picked on. Like,
right.
Like really like majorly. And
you don't remember anything else about that camp?
Not really. No. I remember like the one kid that did it. He was like a fat blonde kid. And I don't even remember his name, but I think about him sometimes. Like, I wonder what you're doing now. I bet I'm doing better than you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come and remind you. He's like a biotech fucking executive, and he makes like $18 million a year plus benefits.
He got Bitcoin immediately. That's so funny, because that kind of implies that there's a level of like you've repressed the positive memories probably of that camp experience. You're only left with like, I was picked on.
Yeah, I remember I remember dreading it.
Yeah.
What I remember too about that summer, and I think this lines up perfectly, is I think that summer was when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers like first kind of emerged in the United States. And I remember watching it before camp, and I would eat like a Pop-Tart. And then my mom would like go drop me off at this place, and then I'd be there for 8 hours, and it was awful.
Yeah.
I hate it. And my mom always says like, oh, I love my mom's like my favorite person in the world. But she'll always say like, paint the rosiest picture of like the way things were. Where she's like, yeah, we were alone, but we had fun, right? And I'm like, I guess. Like, it kind of sucked a lot of it, like I joke about this all the time, but I was like a latchkey kid. By the time I was like in fifth, like, or actually really fourth grade, but certainly in fifth grade, like I was alone. And I think that's a major reason why I am such a loner to this day. And like Micah reflects on it all the time. She's like, you really are like a loner. It's not like antisocial. You don't know how to socialize. You don't know how to talk. You don't like seeing. It's like, no, you're just used to being by yourself. And I would tell like my mom would work until 8 at night or whatever. Like I would be up. And then when I was in high school, and my sisters don't want me to ever say these things in front of their kids, because they're like, shut. Where I'm like, my dad used to date this girl or this woman upstate, Long Island. People don't know Long Island's in the southern part of New York, and upstate is like everything above New York City, basically. And he used to just leave for like 3 or 4 days at a time when I was in like 10th or 11th grade and be like, here's some money. You know, he like go to school.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I was by myself all the time. And so it's really no surprise that I am the way I am now. I didn't do bad things either. Like I didn't, like my sister used to have parties and shit like that. Like I never did anything like that. I would just, like my sister used to have parties, and then our house got robbed, like cased and robbed because of one of them. My dad flipped out. I'll never forget it. Like
crazy.
Yeah, like all of his my dad is like a big audiophile, and he had this amazing stereo stack, and like all the shit, like everything got jacked, and he was gonna fucking kill my sister. You know? Anyway. All right. So camp. Good. Good. By the way, how's speaking of camp, speaking of madness, how's Snark Tank? How are the boys?
Oh, they're doing well. Everything's fun. I think
are you in kind of a rhythm now?
Yeah, we're in kind of a, I mean, it's very, everything about it is improvised. The schedule, the recording time, what we're going to do. So it's like, it's very kind of, we've been hitting a good stride though lately. Like there's a lot of good clips that we've been managing to get out there. And now we have people doing these not animations, I guess, like animatic kind of like motion comics of like
cool
some of their favorite stuff. There's one recently where we had like a bit go, I don't want to say viral because it's not really viral, but like got a lot of hits of like this. We did a bit of Joe Rogan interviewing a caveman, and the caveman is smarter. And it was fun. So like, I don't know, it's nonsense, but it's fun, which is good.
I still find it weird that I did that show twice.
What do you mean?
Rogan.
Oh, I was right.
Not your show. Not yet.
Yeah. I was like, what? I didn't know. The
like it's
that is
like,
kind
what?
of interesting. Yeah, that you did that. That was forever ago now at this point, right?
Yeah, it was like 10 years ago almost, I think, at this point. Because I was on it twice in like 6 months. He liked me. But then I think when I stopped talking about politics so much, he doesn't like games. He doesn't care about games. He has done it. No, he really doesn't. Like he did a couple. I think he had Carmack on once, but I think a lot of it had to do with other things, you know. Because I'm surprised. Like Lex Friedman's much more into it. I think he had Todd Howard on at one point.
Yeah, he just had, didn't he just, or maybe I just saw that he had. Was it the GTA? Was it Dan Houser?
Oh, Houser. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I think it was it Sam Houser? I don't, or maybe both of them.
I can't remember who it was. It was one of the Houser people, and I don't remember. I don't know if it was recent or not. But I saw it recently, and it was interesting.
It's surprising. Like I'm sure a lot of the PR people have tried to penetrate that Rogan shield because it's really unusual how I don't know how he does it now, but like when I was on the show, it was literally all set up through Twitter DM. I didn't speak to anyone, and then when I got there, young Jamie had a document I had to sign, and that was it.
That is crazy.
Like, yeah, so like it wasn't like, you know, you would think he would have a person or people. And it wasn't. It's like, oh, you want to come do the show? Well, sure. When? Do it now. Okay, cool. Do you have like a hotel recommendation? Yeah, go here. And then I just show up. And that was
yeah. You're one of the rare people where like that actually materialized, because he followed me and Derek, and I think Derek and him were corresponding about something, and then it was just like, you know, never again, which is fine because it's just like, I don't know. I'm sure he's overwhelmed. Yeah. Like I haven't heard. You imagine they talk to everybody, you know? Yeah, like we've DM'd back and forth, but like the last time I DM'd him, he didn't even answer me. Which like I'm not like boys with him. I'm sure he remembers who I am or whatever. But that was a surreal thing. But it's funny how much of a cultural impact that show has had, and like how prescient it is. I don't think I even really appreciated it when I was doing it. To be honest, like, right, because that's not a show I really listen to often. I listen to probably one in, at this point, almost nothing. But like even that, like when I was more into it, it's like 1 in 5, 1 in 10, if it's somewhat interesting. Yeah, and you were on it when it was like actually a real interesting show instead of an arm of the State Department. Yeah, well, I think when he moved to Texas, I think I did the show then, and I think it kind of changed a little bit the complexion of it. Yeah, even when he moved, like comedians, it went from comedians and celebrities, and it's like, here's Mark Andreessen. It's like, yeah, right. Okay, all right, bud. Fascinating.
Moshe Sweet wrote in and said, "Hey guys, I have a request for Colin. Please keep sprinkling in the fun sports stories, news, and random facts on the podcast. My wife and I have started hanging out with another couple, and we're really hitting it off. I'm trying to connect more with the husband, but he's a big sports fan, and I'm definitely not. He plays COD, but not much else, and I'm trying to open his eyes to the real shit. Neverness to everness? The funny thing is, the last time we hung out, I found myself remembering things you guys had talked about, like Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles in the first game with the Jets, or how baseball doesn't have a salary cap like other major sports. Those little nuggets have actually turned into great conversation starters and have really helped bridge the gap. So thanks for unknowingly helping me out, and keep up the great work." You're very welcome. I have a few for you right now. Just say so the NFL is about to go into training camp next week. The teams are starting to report. So you can say something like, so the teams are starting to report the training camp. We're almost here to the football season. Something like that. Something like that, I think, will make you sound good. You can bring up something about the World Cup. Perhaps that's timely. What I'm more curious about, though, is what kind of games are you trying to open, the real shit? Be careful, because you don't want this guy to understand who you really are. No.
I couldn't even. It's so funny to imagine that people, because it's so alien to me. Not the sports thing. It's just like, it's so difficult for me to pretend to care about a conversation. Like, I went to a World Cup thing kind of recently. And they held it at it was at noon or something. And it was like from noon to 3 or whatever. And I went there and I think I left like 30 minutes in, and I just didn't say bye to him. I was like, I can't.
Oh, Irish goodbye. I love that.
I'm getting more and more in favor of the Irish goodbye as I get older. I like it. And now when I notice it happens, I like it. Like when I notice that it happens to me, I'm like, okay, good. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't really either. Yeah, remove yourself. That's
just like
fine.
I'm done here. I had a conversation about like, oh, so do you watch a lot of soccer? I was like, no, not at all. I don't know why I'm here. I was invited.
I don't know why I'm here.
It was an obligation. There's food.
There is, yeah, food's good. Food and sports always go well together. We're in the real doldrums of sport right now, where like nothing interesting is happening, and I'm watching what was I watching yesterday? There was like Little League softball World Series on at one point on like ESPN2, the WNBA, which I just think is borderline unwatchable sometimes. Just like a lot of random shit. I'm like, God Almighty, please, just real sports begin. Please come back. Please, I'm begging you. We're almost there. We're almost there. But I'm glad that we were able to help you, and I'm wishing you the very best. I'm so curious. What does a person who only plays Call of Duty and like those kinds of games, the ball shooter, the ball shooter,
the ball and gun gamer,
gun gamer, that's what it is. What do they think about when you're like, oh, you play Genshin Impact? Like, if you just showed them any of this shit, show them Grand Blue Fantasy Relink,
show them Zenless Zone Zero, see how they take to it.
We just take these things for granted, but I think they would be shocking.
I mean, it would be probably completely debasing. Do you think? Because the thing about Call of Duty, though, is like Call of Duty's no stranger to that shit, though. Like they have like Nicki Minaj and like thrown into like playable characters, and like they just had fucking Beavis and Butthead.
That's true.
Like in the last like couple of years. So like, I mean, it's not. They must be somewhat aware of like the insanity of this industry on a broader level.
Yeah, you're right in that, like, it's just about like how avant-garde and weird do you want to get? Anyway, Dexter Wallingsford wrote in and said, hello, CC and the Phantom D. I just wanted to write in about a situation I was placed in recently. I was a groomsman in a wedding for one of my friends and my pastor's daughter. It was rather large, 400 to 500 people, including our entire church. I just wanted to stop here. I couldn't even name 400 people that I've ever met. Like, I would be like, I would have to sit here and like getting beyond like 100, like just name people that you know. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like 400, I think that's like really pushing it. I've met people. I guess I can start naming names out of a yearbook or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I know I've met hundreds of people. I know that for sure. And getting to like 100 people, like getting to 100 people to list is like that alone is a feat, like a feat. You know,
when we were getting married and Mike and I, when we were putting our stuff together, I was like, I'm already done. Like by the time we got to like combine 70 or 80 people, it was like I'm like, I don't know anyone else. Like this is literally like everybody I know. It's like 500 people. Jesus fucking Christ. That's
outrageous.
You probably got a nice little or they got a nice little bundle of money for that though, which is cool.
Probably, yeah.
That's why you would do that, I suppose. Why would you want to have 500 people at your wedding unless you're like the fucking king and queen or something? It's like I don't know.
That seems miserable, to be honest. But
anyway, back to the letter. Dexter says, I was instructed after the ceremony when everyone was going back down the aisle that we would all dance. I don't dance. You can tell from my username that I am indeed white. Generationally white. Again, I don't dance. I was pressured for a week or so by the other 9 members of the bridal party to just let loose or don't worry about it. My bridesmaid wanted to coordinate and yada yada. However, in the end, I just walked down the aisle as quickly as possible while the others danced. It ended up being fine since the entire crowd heartily laughed at my curmudgeonliness, but I still resented, as Colin would say, being put in a situation. I don't know, man. I feel like you got away with it, which is good. I think sometimes you just got to do what other people want you to do for them. You know, I don't like dancing either. The first dance was awesome, but it was like very awkward. I don't do this stuff and like, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, but sometimes you just got to do what the expectations are. One of the things I say, Dexter, in these situations is you just not worry no one's going to care what happened. Like no one's going to talk about it. No one's going to say like, remember, like in 5 years, like remember that fucking retard Dexter and the way he was dancing down the aisle at these people's wedding when there were 500 of us in the audience for some reason.
You remember how you remember how he danced at that wedding in a way that indicated that he should be killed?
Yeah.
Like it's like no one's thinking in extreme terms, you know, when it comes to that stuff. I get it though. Like I think it's awkward too. I specifically learned music from like an instrument perspective because I thought it would give me a pass to never dance. Like I thought I was like, okay, well, this is where the music went. Like I can play instruments. I don't dance.
Right.
But then you just have to in certain places. And then eventually you just kind of get over, you just don't care.
Yeah,
I do think a lot of it is being in your own head about it. I guarantee you it's more you're just embarrassed to do it. And it's like it kind of becomes at a certain point, you know what it is? When you're drunk at like a bar or something, or like at like a club or something, and it's like that's when it kind of like, oh, I guess this isn't really that big of a deal.
Right.
Like that kind of shattered the window for it for me. Where I'm just like, oh, who cares?
Well, you're the center of your own world, and then you realize like you're not the center of anyone else's. Like so people are not paying as close of attention to you as you think. But I understand. I totally agree where it's like it is awkward. I hate doing awkward things, but sometimes you just got to do it. There are so many situations in my life over time where I'm like, I just got to do this. You know?
But here's the thing, Dexter. We're saying this, and no one's paying attention to your awkward dances. Nobody's doing that. I am though. We
know now.
There's always gonna be one person, you know, who's like, look at that's me. That's me. Like I was like, I see you. You don't know how to step for shit, and I notice.
You don't know what
so bear that in mind.
You're doing. You're shuffling your feet out there like a moron. Finally, Benjamin Sharp wrote in and said, Colin, last week you offhandedly mentioned and displayed the gizmo that Micah had purchased for you for mosquito bites. Here in Alberta, Canada, we are having the worst mosquito outbreak that we've had in decades. It actually feels unlivable and like you can't even go outside some days. So this felt like divine intervention, and I immediately went to Amazon and ordered this thing without really looking into it, desperate for any reprieve from the itch. Now, what is this sorcery? Not only does this thing work immediately, but it lasts. I know it's just something to do with extreme heat and pain displacement, but it still feels like magic. I find myself excited to use it as if I'm somehow getting some sweet revenge on these little proboscis having bastards. Nice word. They can take my blood, but they can't take my freedom to burn myself. Also, it hurts so good to use it, and I think it's giving me a weird pain kink, and I'm here for it, but I digress. The thing is a lifesaver. Anyway, I just wanted to show appreciation for the out-of-pocket but wildly serendipitous recommendation. Thanks for all you do. Stay golden, pony boys. We will. I brought this up because, Benjamin, I'm in a similar place. I had brought this up the other night when I was using it, where I'm like, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
You know, like I have a mosquito bite, and I'm like, oh.
You're kind of excited to get a mosquito bite.
Right. And because there is something so interesting. It feels like it's so weird. I wonder if anyone else has used it can understand. It's like you have this itch, this very specific mosquito bite itch. And then you burn yourself with this thing, and it seems like it captures it. It almost like you could feel the pain the itch dissipate out of it. It's so strange, and it is addictive. Like when they're like, wow, because it works. It's not like some bullshit that you got sold on TV for $9.99 or whatever.
Yeah, it's a sensory thing. I get it. It's like messing around with oobleck. You ever mess around with, like, you know what oobleck is?
No, what is that?
That's like that weird, like it's I think it's like cornstarch and something else, but like you mix it. It's like that. It's liquid, but that gets hard when you hit it, or like when you like
what is it? How do you
apply
spell
force to it? OOBLEEK, I think.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, oobleck. Okay.
It's like this weird, like it's like a thing that they would teach you in like science class. They would like, okay, let's make this, and it's to teach you. It's a non-Newtonian fluid, I think.
Yeah, that's what it says.
So like it just. Yeah. So it's like it's in one state, like it's perfectly liquid when it's like softly moved, and then when you strike it, it becomes hard, and it's like it's all weird. The sensory, I remember fucking around with it, and it's just like I was obsessed with it just from a sensory perspective, because it's so weird to experience, and I would imagine it's very, very weird to get a mosquito. We've had mosquito bites our entire lives. The entire time we've been alive on this planet, we've been plagued by these things, and to suddenly just be like, oh, here's a machine that like makes me kind of want to get one.
Right. Because you want to.
Is a fascinating. That's probably it. Like, because under no circumstances would you have ever assumed that would happen.
Right. Because I just hate mosquito. I just hate those motherfuckers, man.
Yeah.
And we spray. We get sprayed every month. Like we hire someone to like come in, and it apparently just kills the eggs, so they don't. But still, a few get by, and then. People had written in, Chris, about like the whole X thing that you put the X with your nail over it. And I've done that too in the past, and that does work, but this is even better. This is even better. I'm telling you, man. If you're out there, like he is in Alberta. I don't have it. Let me
what is it called? Like, what would you even call it? Like that
I don't
device?
know. Mosquito bite
burner.
Yeah, mosquito bite relief device. That's what it's. Yeah, it's the one I have is BEURER, Burer. Insect bite healer.
That's so crazy. Yeah, what a weird fucking item.
It is weird. It's like it hurts like for a second, and you're like, oh, I really should take this off my arm, but you just keep going with it, and then oh my god. Anyway, Benjamin, I'm glad you understand. Chris, we've had enough of this chicanery. It's time to get into the news. Now, we're going to go into things a little bit differently than we usually do because there are new sales numbers to share this week from Circana. However, we usually do these at the end of the news. Mm-hmm. But because of what's going on recently, I thought we would do them instead at the beginning.
Okay.
Because there's some interesting indications here of what is happening. And there was a specific thing that Matt Piscatella from Circana put out on Blue Sky that has a lot of people talking as well about, frankly, how poorly physical games are doing on PlayStation this year in the United States. So we'll just take it all at once. June 2026 was not great for the video game industry in the United States, the biggest gaming market in the world. Video game spending fell 21% in June. That's year over year. And he was saying that a lot of this has to do with Switch 2, of course, being in its launch window last year. So that's to be expected. U.S. video game total market projected spending reached $4.5 billion during June 2026. And we said that was a decrease. First half spending finished 1% behind 2025's pace. So not anything to really talk about there. He notes June 2025 featured the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, as we know, which set an all-time U.S. video game hardware launch month sales record at 1.6 million units. Nintendo Switch 2's June 2025 debut also drove the highest hardware and accessory spending totals for a June month in U.S. tracked history. That's not a huge surprise considering almost nothing comes out in June. The nitty gritty of it is video game sales, of course. Now, this is the shitty thing I think that Circana is doing. Although I understand this, is that I feel like Circana's numbers are more nebulous now than they used to be. And we've gone into this in the past because they are now projecting sales figures for publishers who do not share digital sales figures with them. So people might remember that Nintendo games would really underchart on Circana because a lot of those games are bought physically, but there was no digital footprint. So we didn't really know how games did outside of that, which was what made them so impressive. So they're trying to fix that. But I feel like the numbers are now a little more amorphous. The best-selling game in June, so this is May 31st through July 4th. This is the reporting period. UFC 6.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Number 2, Mecha Chameleon.
Yeah.
Number 3, 007 First Light. Number 4, Star Fox. So now Nintendo games are starting to appear better because of these projections. And it's good because they were always underrepresented. 5, Lego Batman, still holding on. Number 6, Tamagotchi Life, still holding on.
Yeah.
Number 7, Forza Horizon 6, not available on PlayStation. So that's all based on PC sales and certainly some Xbox sales as well. MLB The Show 26 is at number 8. Minecraft at number 9. It's interesting. Again, because this is dollar sales. And 10, NBA 2K26, which is also interesting just because the basketball season's over by this point and NBA 2K27 is right around the corner. And again, this is dollar sales. So very, very interesting stuff. Year to date, Requiem remains the best-selling game of the year, followed by Crimson Desert, and then 007 First Light pops in at number 3. A big surprise here for Sony, MLB The Show 26, the 4th best-selling game in the United States. And again, this goes to show you for the year, this just goes to show you the incredible power of sports games. I think we all intuitively understand that, and yet we just don't have many sports game players listening to the show. So it seems very, very alien. What about this? Forza Horizon 6, number 5. And again, no PlayStation release yet. That I think will come to PlayStation this fall, and I think it's going to spike majorly. I mean, Forza Horizon 5 sold millions of copies on PlayStation, which is incredible. I think the projection was like 5 or 6 million copies. That's incredible. That is a 5-year-old game.
It's crazy. It's insane. Well, we talk about the sports games. I mean, like these racing games are another. Like it's a whole other thing too. Where it's just like this is like we don't have much to say about them. You know, we don't.
I feel bad about that. You know? I feel bad about that.
Yeah. And I've tried them, to be fair. Like I think I put like 15 hours or something into the last Forza Horizon game before this, and it's just like it was really cool. But like I just don't know enough about like what makes these things tick. Or like why people like them, or like what about it.
I just can't get like so Forza Horizon 5 success was surprising on PlayStation. I guess Forza Horizon 6's success is less surprising because people like in the main have been waiting for so long for it. It does look very high quality. I can't get in I feel very disingenuous playing these car games because I don't drive, you know? I know that's like ridiculous. It's like, I don't shoot guns all the time either, you know, but I'm like playing all these shooters. So it's really nonsensical, but Microsoft really, all the games that matter that they make are acquired with the exception of this game. And that's something, and maybe you can say Sea of Thieves as well. So congratulations to them. That they're going to stick around when the PlayStation version comes out for sure. Lego Batman is the 6th best-selling game in the United States for the year. Tamagotchi Life, number 7. Pokemon Pocopia, number 8. And then rounding things out, number 9 and 10 are WWE 2K26 and NBA 2K26. Let's see here. Nintendo Switch 2 was again the best-selling hardware platform. PlayStation 5 ranked 2nd. Not a huge surprise. This is good news for them considering Xbox, I think, had an 86% month-over-month increase in their own sales, and they're still in 3rd place. So I think that just goes to show you how low that number was and that things seem to still be pretty steady for the other two, but we'll see. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring this up was for a couple of things. Number one was there's some new data that were released that I think show the direction things are going in, and I would say people aren't handling it very well. Although I understand this is a very heated thing, and I didn't really want to get back involved. I didn't think there was going to be much more to say about this, to be honest. But considering that, I can't ignore this news. We have to talk about it. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about Circana itself. And Herman's March wrote in and said, "How reliable is this news from Piscatella?" We'll get into the news, but how reliable is what he's saying? The stat, which we'll get into, seems pretty convenient for Sony, but what's more convenient is the timing of this news and just how coordinated this reporting seems. Multiple accounts parroting the same statements have been appearing within hours of one another, leading people to believe Sony is trying to manipulate the press for positive spin. Between allegations of paying off journalists, silencing their own PR wing, and even paying up for bots to counter criticism online via Moore's Law is dead, the current media blitz seems to be evolving. What was a war of attrition is now a race to influence the most number of people into one side or the other. Does this mean the backlash is working? What do you think? Well, I want to talk about a few of the things here. First of all, Circana data is incredibly reliable. I've tried to say this to people that don't believe it, is that if they were wrong, they would lose. The reason people pay serious amounts of money for their data in the industry is because they can all. So imagine this. You have to use a little bit of logic. From our audience, it should be fine. For some people, other audiences, they probably won't be able to figure this out. If you have, let's say, 10 publishers and they all continue to buy your data, right? Over the years, the thing that lets you know that the data is right is that the people who are buying the data are in the data and can verify that what they know is true and lines up with what's in the data. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if you're at Sega and you're like, oh, Sonic whatever sold this many copies according to Circana, it's like, yeah, it did. We know that. That's why we assume because our numbers are true, everyone else's numbers are true, and everyone's playing by that same game. So people that are trying to like shoot, and I also saw this recently, and I wonder if people know, Circana is NPD. Right. And I feel like back in the day, people didn't question NPD's numbers. I feel like the change in name made it feel like it's like, oh, this is not real anymore. And I'm like, no, this is basically as good as like the Billboard Top 200. Like, as I was saying earlier, they're starting to integrate projections, which I think makes the numbers more unsteady. But there must be some method to the madness if they still exist. This is the thing that I think people don't understand. It's like they would have no purpose in our space if they were wrong. Everyone would know. Everyone who applies would know that their games are wrong. Right. No one seems to be talking about that aspect of it. So I think the numbers are incredibly positive. The other thing I want to say is there's this idea that Sony is trying to manipulate people like overtly, like there are marching orders going out and I'm like, I don't think so.
It's insane.
Not because I don't think companies sometimes don't do this, but because I'm like, I know Sony PR. I know how they operate and what their strategies are. And they're not talking to anyone about this. They're just not, they're not like, I think Alana Pierce had said recently, like, as she understands, like there have been instructions from Sony, from HQ for all the employees to not say anything. And I'm like, yeah, if you talk to anyone at Sony, those instructions come down fairly regularly and they'll fucking boot you out. That's why no one is saying it. Like, what do people want? It's like, Sucker Punch, go rogue and start talking about how much you want discs. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, what are you crazy? Like, of course they're buttoned up. That's like the least surprising thing. But I think people are getting a little bit too conspiratorial about some of this stuff. I know Moore's Law had some interesting thing about like paying for bots and stuff. And I'm like, I don't think so, dude. Like maybe there's some of that going on with some people. It doesn't have to even be Sony doing it. It can be some other influence campaign or whatever. But my honest take is like, I don't think Sony is really reacting to anything. I think they just understand that they're going to have to ride this out. And
yeah.
So believe what you want. That's up to you. But I'm telling you from my own position, dude, if I knew that these companies were doing that, I would tell you. But I mean, come on. You don't think if I got wind that it's like, oh my God, these guys are really like doing this. They're like buying bots and they're sending out marching orders and there's like secret discords and stuff. I'm like, there's not. I hate to say it. I run the biggest PlayStation podcast in the world. I have some connection to what you would I speak to people. I know like it is what it is sometimes. You can disagree with it. I think that's the thing that's happening recently, Chris, is that people are getting mad at the messengers. And it's like, you should be mad at Sony. Don't be mad at me. I didn't do anything to you. I'm just telling you like what is happening and why. So that sets the predicate for what we're going to talk about. And the thing is that Matt Piscatella, now this would have been useful information weeks ago, but he put on Blue Sky just a couple of days ago. And people this is the other thing is that people can't fucking read, dude. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's amazing, actually.
So he tweets out the following. 2 PlayStation video games sold more than 10,000 physical units in the US during the week ending July 11th, 2026. A lot of people stopped reading there. So when I talked about this, if you read a lot of the responses are like, well, maybe pick a better week. And I'm like, read the next sentence.
Oh my God.
He continues, seven have sold more than 100,000 physical units year to date. So to reiterate, 2 PlayStation video games sold more than 10,000 physical units in the US during week ending July 11th, 2026. There's really nothing there. He continues, 7 have sold more than 100,000 physical units year to date. Horrible. Now, people that are trying to, I understand there's all these sorts of different ways to look at this data, but then Matt released more data today. And I don't know if you saw this, but I was like, oh, it's bad. And what he says is, and I think he's doing this in response to people kind of busting his balls about that data. So in 2008, he reports, there were 100 PlayStation games by the middle of 2026 or the middle of that year rather, that sold more than 100,000 units. That's fucking crazy. Now, almost everything in that era was physical. There were some digital games at that point, but not really. I mean, there were some notable ones. But that number had fallen from 100 to 7. And that's pretty extreme. But the bigger thing that he shares, and this is because I understand people being like, saying something goes over 100,000 doesn't tell you anything. It's like, what? It could be 1 million. And it's like, no, he says, while he can't disclose title specific units, none of the 7 that did exceed 100,000 physical units in the US reached 275,000. Again, this is pretty dire because you have some games in there that you can imagine, like Requiem and a few others, 007, where it's like, yeah, you would assume maybe those games sold pretty heavily physically, but we know that that's not what happened, at least not in the United States. So it's just data. It's nothing to be mad about if it's just reflecting reality. And I understand people's angst about this, but just wanted to share that data. And that's why we were covering this in the front as opposed to the back, because there is something more notable here than us just going through some of these numbers. What did you make about that data when it was circulated? It caused quite a stir. People were upset to see that. It is just a piece of the puzzle, Chris, but it is a substantial piece of the puzzle. This is the biggest gaming market. And is our buying behavior a little different here? Yeah. Are there other mitigating factors? Sure. But you can't deny that no game this year surpassing 275,000 printed copies in the United States is good. It's not. It's bad.
Yeah.
I used to see the MPD numbers back in the day during the PS3 and PS4 era, and they weren't like this. So it is what it is. What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's a lot of. I mean, look, it's useful information, and I think it's interesting, and it gives us a little bit of illumination into the overall, like, what's going on. But I think a lot of this is like it's. I wonder what it is that people are looking for in digging deeper into this that isn't already explained by the fact that the situation that is currently happening is happening in the first place. You know what I like? Sony, we talked about how like they're part of the Blu-ray consortium and that they own, like, you know, they make money on every Blu-ray disc sold. The fact that they don't want to do it is kind of indicative enough, really, that it doesn't sell well, or that it's not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Again, I'm not saying that like personally, like I like physical games, you know, I appreciate them. And I would have preferred to have that option for as long as possible. But they don't care, you know, and they don't care for a reason. It's because there's not enough. People aren't voting with their wallets on this to the degree that it would be enough for them to, you know, consider continuing. So, yeah, I mean, are those numbers pretty dire? Yeah. But again, it's like, of course they're dire. If they weren't dire, they would still be making physical games. Right. You know, so like I don't know. I know that there are different markets that are a little bit more physical. I know Japan is a little bit more, as far as I understand it anyway.
It definitely is more physical.
More physical oriented. But I mean, again, if Japan isn't enough, to convince them to just reverse this whole thing, then I think we just got at a certain point we just kind of have to accept reality, even if it's not preferable. Or I mean, now you can just quit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a valid thing too. Like, I wouldn't even begrudge anybody for doing that. It's like, if you like physical games and only physical games, well, then there's really not much of a choice you're being given, really. And I respect that, but I mean, this is the reality of the situation now. And I just don't know what people are looking for. Like, they're looking for like a kernel of like, oh no, there's a way forward here. And there's like, oh look, this game sold. Like, is there just a secret game that sold 1 billion physical copies? Like, I don't know what we're looking for. So yeah.
It's the more data that comes out, the more my expectations are bent downward, where I continue to be surprised, where I'm like, what? Like, I always thought it was I always thought they were, what I was trying to express, people got mad at me on social media like they do because they're killing the messenger, of course, but it's like, when you see that only 7 games in the US sold 100,000 copies or more physically on PS5, and it's actually PS4 as well. Not that matters so much because it's just PlayStation
year
platforms.
to date.
Right, exactly. I thought that there was going to be a higher baseline of core gamers that would have bought many of those, or if not all of those games, if that makes any sense. Or, let's say like 4 of 7 or something, or 6 of 10. In other words, 100,000 baseline is bad. That to me is that is the definition of vanishing. I thought it was in the hundreds of thousands per game. And to me that, and so I could see, I just saw those numbers, again, incomplete data, but I saw that and I was like, damn, like the more that you learn, the more you're like, yeah, it's hard to kind of argue against the reasoning. Again, I'm like you, where, and I've said this from the beginning, and you have as well. It's like, I want people to have I don't mind if people buy physical games. It doesn't matter to me. And as I said before, I am shocked that Sony didn't try to wring these people dry. But I think even that shows you that it's just not worth it. Because if you believe them, and you do, I mean, I know the numbers, like how much you make versus on digital versus physical. The reality is that if they shed half of those people, right? So half of the physical people that are upset just leave, and they only maintain the buying habits of the other half digitally, the money is net zero. That's the whole ball game. They don't care. Yeah. And I guess what I'm saying is I thought they were playing with bigger, more dangerous numbers, but they're not. And these numbers show you that. So it just kind of is what it is. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I don't feel bad for you. It's just the more I learn about it, the more I understand. That's just me being honest. The more not understand the move as much as I understand the strategy of like, all right, I guess you guys really aren't messing around. If these numbers are accurate, then yeah, you're right. Now, there's a lot of people, Chris, saying like there are things happening. They underprint the copies on purpose. They make it difficult to find physical games. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think you can probably go on Amazon and buy a physical version of whatever you want. I don't know if it's that. Maybe like if you don't go to GameStop, they don't have enough copies, whatever. Go online.
Yeah,
I mean, at some point, it's up to you that you didn't get it. It's not like there's a real finite amount of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know what to make of that. I'm in agreement with you where I thought the numbers were higher. I thought the numbers were still dire, but like I thought they were like you said, like multiple hundreds of thousands per game. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it was to this degree. So I mean, and look, I'm still personally, I'm still of the mind that that's still a subsect of your audience that's important. It's a subsect of the culture that I think is important too, and I think there's some level of inherent responsibility that it's not written anywhere, but there's kind of like an inherent responsibility of like the leading platform to maybe steward the culture in a way that is, responsible and pays respect. And so I would even say, like, and I've said this before, even if you just sold discs directly from PlayStation Direct and you charged a little bit more for them, and you made it kind of a bespoke kind of pseudo collector's edition, the type of things that we used to get, like manuals and, maybe accoutrements or whatever, along with the physical game, you could only get it from PlayStation Direct. I even think that would be nice and would be, I'm still of the mind that like we should have an option here. But I understand why this is all happening, you know. And it's two different, like, I don't know. People have a hard time. I feel like people just don't have a theory of mind, to be honest.
Yes, I mean, I think that's fairly obvious. Yeah, that's
I feel like it's a lot of people.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
None of this is, justification or whatever, or personal. But like, I see what they're doing, and it makes sense, data-wise.
Yeah, it is. Right, I'm in the same position where it's like I want people to have choice and optionality. I don't want people to feel alienated. At the same time, I think the numbers somewhat speak for themselves, and Sony is acting accordingly. And I'm with you where I don't know. It's like it's just you assume the 275,000 copy game is Resident Evil, and I would think that would be what it was.
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, man, that's it. For a game that has sold an extraordinary amount of copies. Like, it's like one of the best-selling Resident Evil games, I think, already. And it's like, damn. And I think Capcom had said that 93% of their sales are digital at this point. I think the canary in the coal mine, as I've said before, is there are basically no friendly publishers to this. Not one publisher has come out and said that they had a problem with it, like of any size. Boutique guys have a problem with it, sure. But like, you don't see Take-Two being like, this is a big problem for us. Like, they're amped. That's the other thing that I think you just have to accept, unfortunately. Now, I think there is a question to be asked too about, like, because I think the solution, like you said, Chris, was more direct sales at a higher price point. Because I think the one thing digital players have to ask themselves is like, well, to be fair, why do we have to subsidize this and they don't? Like if Sony's making way more money on digital players, it's like we're subsidizing the physical players at some point. And I think Sony, I honestly think that could have been an interesting argument. Should you have been able to massage that in your communications? You don't have to be such a dick about it, but you can just say like, we are uncomfortable with the majority of our audience subsidizing this market, something like that. But again, they just didn't communicate it well. Maybe.
I don't know if that would have landed. That's a rough line. Like, I get what you're saying, but like that's going to be a difficult thing to spin. I think for most people, it
might be that their strategy of just saying almost nothing is probably the best of all strategies. Ironically,
yeah, probably, yeah. There's really nothing you could say that would make anybody happy now, because you're not going to go back on it. It's very clear. The stock went up. I know people say that doesn't matter, and it's like I mean, I guess it doesn't in a broad sense, but it
matters to the people that make decisions.
Right, and it matters to the people that make decisions, and it certainly matters as far as like and look, a lot of the people. Let's be real, like a lot of the people, the overwhelming majority of people who are being loud about this, and I'm not saying that like people aren't putting their money where their mouth is, but like I care to some degree about this. Like I've talked about like, oh yeah, I don't like that we're going into this digital only space. I say that out loud, and I'm a primarily digital customer. So even as many people are talking about it, there's an even fewer subsect of the people who are talking about it that actually like, I'm strict physical. You're actually seeing in some ways an overrepresentation of the core philosophy, the core foundation of like a lot of these arguments. And I'm part of that, to be honest. But it's because I philosophically feel that we should have that. We should have the option. But I don't care personally. Like interpersonally, I could give a shit,
Jamie wrote into us, Chris. It says, "Hi, Colin and Chris. Just wanted to say a big, massive fuck you to PlayStation right now. We physical buyers have been incredibly loyal. We buy a ton of digital games too. We buy day one consoles and we keep the physical market alive. But I made up my mind that the PS5 is my last PlayStation console. The reporting that, quote, only 7 games sold more than 100,000 copies in the US for games released this year, end quote, is seriously misleading. How many games were even released on disc in total this year? Feels like barely a handful. That's not true, unfortunately. We need a better context on digital versus physical splits and actual total sales, not just the arbitrary 100,000 threshold. Sony themselves shipped nearly 70 million PlayStation game discs last year in fiscal 25. That proves physical demand is still strong when publishers actually support it. Games like Resident Evil Requiem had physical copies selling out in many countries for weeks. That's the kind of support we want to see, not abandonment. Physical collectors aren't some irrelevant niche. We show up on day one, we buy premium editions, and we help drive the ecosystem. Pushing everything towards digital only and subscriptions while slowly killing physical support is a great way to lose dedicated fans like me for good. Sony needs to do better. Love the show as always. It's interesting because, first of all, like I think we can even just identify what the games are, because people have been asking like, what are the 7 games? And I think I'll tell you what I think they are. In that, let's see, I got to bring up the right link. Yeah, there it is. So it's Resident Evil Requiem, Crimson Desert, First Light, MLB The Show, Lego Batman, and probably something like Call of Duty, last year's Call of Duty, and a sports game. People are acting like it's impossible to get to that number. I'm like, no, it's not. It's actually quite possible. Like games like Saros don't even appear anywhere in the realm of like the 100,000 copies sold, which is again is another. That's a bad sign for that game, and also a kind of an ominous sign for the PlayStation ecosystem. Not even 100,000 people would come out and buy Saros on disc. First party. I think that's so people are acting like it's like, well, like what could it be? And I'm like, guys, there's like a bunch of different permutations of the games it could be. I don't know. I hear what you're saying, and I the reason I think Jamie's inquiry is so interesting is because at least he's putting his mouth. He's made a decision. And that was what you were saying about, and I wrote this in my notes because I wanted to make sure to get back to it, is you talked about accepting reality. It's a tough pill to swallow for people that are involved in it, right? I see no evidence, at least right now, maybe anything can change at any moment. I see no evidence that Sony's going to do anything. Like, I think at this point, why would you not have said something by now? Remember we were talking about how it took 28 days or 29 days, I think, for Xbox during the Xbox One reveal to come back and say, we're reversing the DRM stuff and whatever. And so that was like 4 weeks and change. And we had noted, and I've always felt this way, is that it took them so long because they didn't know if it was possible. So like you had to like figure it out. And then they said it as soon as they could. There's nothing to really figure out here. You're making discs. And as Moore's Law has said, and I agree with them, is that like it's almost certain that at some point the PS6 had a disk drive. So even if you settled on something that you weren't going to do, you can go back to like the Frozen and Ember kind of thing and be like, and Amber and be like, we want to revive this thing and get it going. Like it shouldn't take this long, in other words, because otherwise all you're doing is reaping bad PR for no reason. To like announce it at some future point when everyone's gonna be excited. It's like you've done so much damage to yourself. So that to me, Occam's razor simply suggests the simplest explanation is they have no intention of moving. And so I do wonder like when this like I don't from a like when does the conversation stop? Like when do we have to reach a level of acceptance? I always think in terms of memes, and there's that meme of like the cartoon of the people gathering around and they're talking, and then someone says something and then they like give them a thumbs up and then they keep talking.
Back,
and I'm like, I wonder when it kind of turns into that situation for everyone where it's like, we get it. It sucks. It's unfortunate. Are we really going to do this for years?
Yeah.
And maybe people are like, yeah, but I'm like, I feel like at that point you kind of come off as like, if you're so embittered by it, you've been broken up with basically. And there is a level of, it sucks. I said that before. I've said this, like, if I didn't get my PSN account back, I would never be a PlayStation person again. I don't blame people for being like, yeah, you have abandoned the way I interact with your console. If you don't want me, then I don't want you. I get it. And I also get and I think they're right, that like all things being equal in a digital ecosystem, Steam is probably the place you want to be. Yeah. None of that's wrong, in my opinion. So, but I do wonder, have you thought about that, Chris? Like, what's the end game? Are we really going to, like, it's demonstrable. People don't like it, but it's like the fear around it is getting less and less. Just look at the responses. Look at the thumbs up. Look at the ratios, all the rest. They're getting less and less and less. This is probably what Sony wanted. And I just wonder, like, are we always going to have this guerrilla war?
Yeah. I mean, it'll probably always be there as like some kind of undercurrent. But I think it'll probably slow down at some point. Like I would imagine once the PS6 is out, it'll or like once the PS6 is announced is what it's going to be, and it's not going to have discs or whatever, that'll be its own thing, and that'll be like a reigniting of it. And there will be periods where it just kind of like ebbs and flows back into relevance based on, you know, whatever the hell happens. But I don't know, man. I get it. We're at an inflection point in the industry in a lot of different ways. So like this is kind of the point where a lot of people are either going to stick around or call it quits. And I kind of don't blame people for doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes sense to me. Like I have a line that like I think is probably fast approaching with this AI stuff, where like there will be a point where like pretty much every game already is touched by AI in some point in some way. But there will be a point where it's just AI, full Gen AI stuff. And at that point, it's just like, well, this might not be the industry for me then at this point.
Mm.
And so that's physical games for some people. And you know, it's hard to say that you shouldn't feel that way. Because I get it. Because we all have our own lines in the sand. And so I respect it. If you're actually going to do it, I respect it.
Right. I agree. And I think Sony is relying on most of you not.
Most people won't.
And I think most people won't. Like you see a lot of the responses where people will respond snarkily and be like, all right, see you in November for Grand Theft Auto, whatever, you know, that kind of thing. And I'm like, or see you in September for Wolverine or whatever. It's like, I hope people can remain strong and treat the situation with the seriousness that it deserves from your own perspective. But I do wonder how long we're going to have to talk about this. Not because it's bad news for Sony. I think it's kind of neutral news for Sony. I honestly don't think it's going to hurt them in the long run. I think Sony's in trouble for other reasons. I really don't think it has anything to do with this.
I think people put too much stock on like ratios, you know, on social media or whatever, where it's just like, look at how many people are angry. It's like, yeah.
Shit, Chris, Odyssey's a great example of that, isn't it? Like,
Odyssey's a fantastic example. Like, it
was getting obliterated. Like, it was getting obliterated to the point where you thought, like, oh, this thing really isn't going to do well, and then it didn't matter at all.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Yeah, it's in some ways a similar thing where you have this kind of very massive, you know, I guess it's not that similar, but like the way that I feel about it really is with the Christopher Nolan thing. It's just like you have this very well-respected director making a film based on like one of the most renowned stories of all time. Like you really thought that this was going to be anything less than good? What are we talking about?
It seemed like a weird one to stake your reputation on. Not that any of these people have reputations, but it's like,
right.
Or they have reputations that they certainly don't want necessarily. But to me, it's like, I understood. It's an old example, but like Ghostbusters, the women Ghostbusters from 10 years ago. It's like, yeah, that's probably not going to shape up great. That's a good one to kind of make fun of if you want to be safe. You'll look good on the other side. Going after Christopher Nolan, it was a little weird. I thought that it's so funny you say that, because I'm like, really? Like, again, I don't know film very well, so I'm like, wow, maybe this is like really going to be a fucking disaster, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't really compute with what you know about.
No, of course.
Yeah.
There's like people have an intuitive sense of just like, well, that's probably insane to think that's going to. I mean, it's always possible, I suppose, but to be so fervent about it is, I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about with PlayStation doing the disc business, because it's just, you know, I mean, it's bad, yeah, and it's less choice or whatever, and it looks bad from the outside, and it is bad from the inside in many different ways, but this is the dominant console platform. And most people who are on that platform play digitally. And I get that. And look, there is an argument to be made. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's released only digitally. Like, I get it. A lot of the free-to-play stuff, you know, which is a big cultural force, is a lot of these free-to-play games that do not really come out on disc. And I get that. But this is reality, is it not? So,
right, and that's why
I don't know. We can say, dude, Call of Duty. What is it? Was it the digital? What is it? Call of Duty Black Ops?
Yeah,
like exploded.
It did, dude. We actually have data on that. Sam H wrote into us and said Hawal as well. I've been a listener for over 10 years, but I haven't touched a PlayStation since the PS2 era. I love it, but I always find that so fascinating. It's like, what are you listening to this for? Right, this past week, I went to GameStop and bought 2 PS4s, one for me and one for my brother, specifically so we could play the Black Ops ports. In just my immediate friend group, that's 2 PS4s and 3 PS5 Pros purchased in the last week alone, adding a total of 5 new PlayStation Plus subscribers, all just to play games from over a decade ago. You mentioned on a recent episode that the impact of the physical game boycott and PS Plus cancellation push seems pretty negligible because of situations like this. I just wanted to add a real-world data point from someone who was completely out of the ecosystem until now. It really highlights how strong the pull from those older titles still is. Keep up the great work. And you're right, Chris, because Circana also released information. So this is the week ending July 11th. So that week that those games came out. On PlayStation, Call of Duty Black Ops 2 was the 6th most played game. And Call of Duty Black Ops 1 was 9. So it goes Fortnite, NBA 2K26, Roblox, Call of Duty, which is like the holistic app, GTA 5, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, Marvel Rivals, Minecraft, Call of Duty Black Ops, Madden. And
crazy.
This is what I was talking about with it sucks. Like this is the hopelessness embedded in a lot of boycotts is that you can't control anyone outside of your circle.
Right.
And I think that the Black Ops 1 and 2 from 2010 and 2012, ancient games, PS3 games, by modern standards, breaking the seal like that around this this growing movement to try to kind of boycott Sony, it's like, oh, that's just the beginning, unfortunately, because there's going to be so much chip damage, kinks in the armor as each game releases, right? And there'll be big ones like Wolverine, but like even something like Tokon's going to peel people off, right? Beast of Reincarnation is going to peel people off. Dawn of the Bloodwalker, whatever the fuck that game's called, that's going to peel people off. Onimusha is going to peel people off. Wolverine's going to, and it sucks. It sucks. This is the thing that I feel for the boycotters, because it's just what it is. It's the way it always goes. I remember when people were boycotting Bud Light. I didn't have to boycott Bud Light because I don't drink Bud Light. But like people were even trying to get into like, well, these are the other brands they own. And then what ended up happening is that Modelo ended up taking over number one, owned by the same company.
Right.
So it didn't even matter.
This is ultimately the problem. Is it's like boycotts. I've long felt that boycotts are just kind of like I get like from a personal perspective, I get it. Like this is like there's plenty of things that I boycott personally, like and that's fine. But as a point of like protest or as a point of movement to like initiate change, the world's just too small now. The world is both too big and too small at the same time now. It used to be that, there's a store in town and, the nearest town is like miles and miles away and we need a horse to get there. A boycott's a big deal because that's the town. That's all you got. But now it's just like, if you're controversial in Georgia, you're probably popular in New York, or if you're unpopular in this country, you're popular in that country. This isn't like local anymore. And I think that's just the boycotts in general. I just like that's a tool from a far simpler time, when that kind of thing could really be used to affect change. Not to say that it couldn't still. There's some things that are potentially incredibly egregious that you could maybe through sheer force of insane will mandate or force a mandated change, but it's vanishingly rare that happens in the modern hyper-connected age. Like it's just, I don't know. These companies are too national and like global. There's entire markets popping up that have never even heard of any of this. Where PlayStation's going to be their the only console that they know, So it's just, I don't know. It's a rough team to be on if you're focused on winning.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
on your own. If you focus on your own personal proclivities, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's got to be a rough team to be.
Yeah, and I hope that you act in a way that signals, even if it's lost in the noise for the most part. Like I believe that you should. It's what I was saying about. It's why when my account got boosted, the last thing I ever asked anyone to do is to do anything about it. It's like I don't want. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want you to change your behavior. I'm not asking you to do anything. But for me, if it didn't work out the way it did, it's like I would make a decision. I wouldn't want to make it. It would be painful. I'll cry about it for a little while, but eventually you got to make your move, or you didn't even really believe what you were saying to begin with. But I think people kind of lost and are still kind of lost sight of the fact that like, this isn't really a movement to bend anything anymore because there's not enough of you. I don't think. I think if there were enough enthusiasts really engaged in this, maybe something would change. But as I said earlier, I don't know why Sony wouldn't have made a change by now if they were going to, because they have nothing to gain and there's really nothing to figure out. And again, I want to be clear. I don't think the change will ever affect PS6. But I don't know what you really lose by saying, yeah, we'll just keep PS5 certification open indefinitely, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that to me seems like an easy win. But that they haven't even done that seems like they just don't want to do it. That there's no publisher of size coming out and saying that they hate it means that they love it. I hate to be the guy that says that. They're probably amped. I said this right away and people got mad about it. I'm like, if you think EA and Take-Two and all these guys aren't fucking being like, yes.
Yeah, they're thrilled.
For so many reasons. That was the thing I was trying to explain to them. It's like, it's not just like the loss of the money in the physical games that they don't want to sell you. It's like they don't have to get a gold master ready like early. They don't have to deal with any of the physical certification and the extra ESRB ratings and that whole pipeline. Like they're probably like, yes, we get more time to make the game. We don't have to worry about any of this anymore.
Dude, I'm even of the mind of like, I'm even curious as to whether or not even stores give a shit.
Well, they don't. GameStop's CEO said that it's irrelevant. I don't know if you saw that. He's like, he was asked about like he's like, it doesn't matter because they don't make any money on them either.
Yeah.
That really pissed people off too, because like, you'd think they would be a big champion in this. I'm like, they don't care. I'm pretty sure GameStop wanted to buy eBay. They don't give a fuck about physical games anymore. They understand that if they were focused, if their like whole business revolves around it, they're done. That's been true for fucking years. This doesn't really change anything for them. It just forces them to accelerate probably a little bit, but
yeah,
that was a canary in the coal mine too.
Yeah.
Jeans nut stained Xbox Helix shirt wrote in. Said hello, Colin and Chris. Am I wrong for thinking that boycotting PlayStation over the disc thing won't matter due to the PS6 setting up to be a massive failure? As a console only person who has the funds to buy a PS6 but refuses to spend the same amount as a PC on it, I personally believe, boycott or not, Sony will feel the hurt when the PS6 comes out. I have no doubt in my mind that most PlayStation players are going to just stick to their PS5 or PS5 Pros until the price possibly comes down to a reasonable amount. I also believe no PC gamer will pay $1,000 plus for exclusives, and most Xbox players will just stick with their Series console or go to PC. This thing is projected to sell in the low single millions in its first 2 years, and I feel that will hurt Sony more than any boycott right now could ever. If you guys feel otherwise, I would love to hear why you think this boycott ultimately matters, as we know Sony will just ignore us in spite of their failure. Well, I think there's something really important here, Chris, and we touched on it earlier, is that I do think Sony's in some trouble.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing is that when the PS6 comes out and it doesn't sell well, which it probably won't, the physical game people are going to be like, see? And I'm going to be like, it has nothing, sadly, has nothing to do with you. But I understand people will make those connections. I think regardless, like even if it had a disk drive, like straight up was like, we're putting discs on PS6, not even like a backwards compatible thing. I don't think it would help.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to have problems with this thing, I think. Now, I agree with the synopsis or the analysis rather, and you and I have discussed this in past weeks, where I was turned on to this idea of there being no reason to wait for that from Sony's perspective. It's like, you're going to sell millions of these things to people at maximum price. You might as well just do it. You're not going to like permeate the market until the price goes down, but you might as well just release it, get people excited, tantalize you, build up a little back catalog. Perhaps people stay on PS5 and PS5 Pro by the tens of millions. So I think they're in decent shape from a backwards PS5 perspective, and I don't know how much that makes them happy. It's probably a little bit of a pleasing cushion for them, but I do think PS6 is in some sort of trouble. I mean, the projections we went over last week show sub PS3 numbers. It's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But I don't know how intertwined these things are. I think Sony just has bigger problems than this.
Yeah. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I like you said, I don't think even if they reverted the decision and had a disk drive on PS6, I still think that machine would sell pretty softly, because the hunger is not really there for a new machine. It has nothing to do with discs or even business practices, really. It's just, I guess you could argue that it's like maybe a little bit business practices in the sense that it takes so long for a game to be made now that the generation still doesn't really feel complete. or even close to complete, really. But it's just, this machine's got an allure problem, which is to say that it doesn't really have much. Even with the stuff that we know about it, look, the enthusiasts are going to jump on it, right? Like everybody who's like into shiny new hardware is going to buy it. I'm probably one of those people. I like new hardware.
Yeah, I'm going to buy both the handheld and the console, for sure.
Yeah, I'm very curious about it. And maybe when we, again, I've said this before, but like maybe when we do see it in person, maybe it'll start, because right now it's nebulous. It's real in like a in a vague sense, but it's not. We don't know what it looks like. We can't really envision it in our living rooms. We can't really envision, like, we don't know what the UI is. We don't know what the experience is going to be like. Maybe they could somehow make a case that, like, hey, you actually need this thing because what you're getting right now with the PlayStation is like, it's good, but it's like, it's not good enough. I would have a hard time believing that right now. I'm perfectly satiated. Whereas by this point in many previous generations, I was like very eager to get on, you know, even with the 360, which I loved. I loved that machine. There came a point at around 2011, 2012, where I was like, all right, let's go. Like, what's going on? And I remember that being the broad sentiment at the time as well. People were stoked about it. And they were curious as to why it was taking so long. And then when it finally happened, you know, people were like stoked about it and disappointed, obviously, with the Xbox One and all that stuff. But there was a hunger for a continuing. There was a hunger to see what was next. I don't know if that hunger even really exists in any real meaningful capacity to the same way that it did before. And it could be that we're just in the space where we're in a bubble. But you'd imagine that the enthusiast space would be the bubble that would be excited. That's the thing that I can't shake, is that, like, we are in the space that cares most about this. Like, your average civilian doesn't give a fuck, you know? They're not looking forward to the next machine because they don't even know about the current machine, really. Or not to the extent that we do. So they've got way bigger problems, in my opinion, than discs. You know, they've got studios taking forever to build things. They've got exploding budgets. They've got kind of an untenable economy to deal with that really kind of only seems to be getting worse. And like it sometimes it comes back and then it gets worse again. It's not a good situation to release a machine. But like you said, if you've already got the components, if you've already like basically set this stuff in stone, you kind of might as well go. Like, I think it'll be awkward as fuck. I think it'll be awkward when that machine comes out, when nobody really is hungry for it. It'll be weird. And it'll be probably a big thing to make fun of online. And it'll probably be bad optics in that sense. But if you're going to go, you might as well go.
I think, Chris, the one thing that can save it, well, there's a few things that can save it. And we're making, like you said, we have all these assumptions about it.
Yeah, we don't know what this thing is going to be yet. We don't know how appealing it's going to be.
But I think the price is an interesting thing. Like, there's such, I don't think they're outrageous expectations, but I think they're really high end expectations about like what this thing will cost. And I think it's like, this thing's going to cost $1,000. This thing's going to cost $900. And it's like, if Sony just is like, something still egregious, but like, it's like $749. Everyone's like, oh, you know, like even something like that could be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's not, you know, like, because everyone's expectations were so out of whack, perhaps. I also think like what you said is true in that Sony is typically has mastered hype, really clean trailers and presentations, people that know what they're talking about, high-end tech. There'll be some sort of sophisticated rollout when this thing is announced that I think will get some people.
Sure.
But I think Sony, and you saw this with the CFO talking during a recent fiscal quarter presentation, they're getting comfortable and acclimating to the idea that people aren't moving on. And we're going to talk about a game later on in NBA 2K27 that is now finally going to skip PS4. And so I think a lot of casual people will be forced to buy these new machines because of that too. And by new machines, I mean the PS5. And so I think it's just got, I think the view into the 2030s is going to be some sort of multi-generational thing. I think it can't be any other way. I love this idea of them being like, and I think it would be fucking hysterical if they did shit like this, where it's like, we're doing Bloodborne 2 or like Bloodborne remastered only on PS6, or, you know, pull some bullshit PS3 emulation only on PS6. I just don't know that they even can do that kind of thing anymore. Like, in other words, I think that like the draw is going to be the power and not the games, because I think the games are going to have to come to PS5. We're going to talk a little bit about Bethesda soon, and people are wondering what they're going to do with their games. And I'm like, I'm the meme with the guy hand on the shoulder. I'm like, I'll tell you what they're going to do with their games, but we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
The Who Fan one wrote in and said, Colin, you've got to come back with me back to the future. Bring Chris along. This concerns him too. Something's got to be done about your games. There seems to be a civil war online right now between those upset at Sony killing physical games and those who think the conversation about physical games is blocking the conversation about digital rights from happening. I don't think the conversations are mutually exclusive. And if the digital only crowd is as huge as the numbers say, they would not only be drowned, they would not be drowned out by the physical crowd. They just haven't begun to speak up in numbers because they don't see a reason to yet. The people asking for digital ownership probably also don't even have a clear picture of what that means. If that fight is to be started, it probably needs to be started with the drafting of some sort of digital consumer bill of rights. Some people are calling for the abolition of DRM. No corporation is willingly going to abandon DRM for new AAA games. I don't see how any of the world governing bodies having the stomach to enforce it either. Honestly, in that case, be careful what you wish for, because if they can't control their copyrighted material with DRM, publishers other than Sony and Nintendo may be looking to fast track game streaming as the future. I have to be honest and say that I actually think that a lot of the justification I see from the physical games people in relation to the digital game stuff is this is what protects you. And to me, I'm like, no, it doesn't. And it's completely insufficient. Halo is a great recent example. Halo is a coaster on disc, on PS5. It doesn't protect you from shit. And I appreciate that people want that, and some games are on disc and whatever, you can patch them, whatever. But I really do feel like people are missing the forest for the trees with this. We don't have to say, because you say something in here, the Who Fan, where you're like, if the numbers are as what they are, like if the digital crowd is as huge as the numbers say, they are as huge as the numbers say. They don't see anything to say right now because they don't care about buying licenses. That's the sticky little thing. It's
They're
like
used to it.
Yeah, it's like they don't even really understand they can't discern the difference. And really, if nothing changes behind the scenes, it is a distinction without a difference, because it gets you the same thing at the end of the day. And I think most people do see it that way. However, I really do feel like this does need to change, that it is the far more important and future looking component of it, obviously, and that it really is worth going to the mat over it. And I am of the mind that it is going to require governmental interference. I don't think it's going to require, and people are like, why would the government get involved with PlayStation? It's not about PlayStation. It's about all of them, all of the companies and all of your digital items, not games only, but everything. And I think only the threat of it will fix it. ESRB style. I don't think the government actually needs to pass legislation. I think the government needs to start bringing these people before Congress and scaring them, or the European Commission, or whatever, in the UK before Parliament. These big markets. And I believe that there's a lot of defeatism around it. I believe also, Chris, that it might be hard to retroactively do anything. And that the biggest victory that we might be able to get is from date X, there is no more licensing. And then maybe they can negotiate going backwards. But really, that's the thing that needs to be fixed. And also your access to your account. Like, what happened to me was ridiculous. What's happened to a lot of thousands of people in PlayStation is ridiculous, especially because they have no recourse. The reality is that we need to have rules where that just can't happen.
Right.
And you and I remember, Chris, were talking about this, about the idea of like, Chris goes on PSN and goes on a racial fucking tirade on Call of Duty and he gets banned. Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, but it's like, even then, okay, you broke the TOS, but like, should you really be able to preclude him from having access to the things he already bought? Like, to me, these are the things that need to change. And you and I agreed. It's like, Sony doesn't have to serve you moving forward if you do something wrong. But they can't say, like, we're not serving you the things you already bought. You already paid for these things. We're not serving you those either. And it's like, no, I don't think so. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't think so. Like, and I think it's just going to require, we need enough. It's enough. It is enough.
It's enough already.
It's enough. Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I think this is the more forward thinking. This is the more important thing, because things are going to be. We are headed towards a digital future, and that is, it's important to accept that, because once we accept it, we can start actually like focusing on the reality of the situation and coming to constructive and salient paths forward with which to navigate it and establish, right, because that is a big deal, dude. It really is kind of crazy that it's written in TOSs that it's just like, okay, well, we can just revoke this at any point. It's just like, well, I don't know about this. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah, just because it says it doesn't mean it should be actionable. Like, contracts can say things that are not legal, and just because you signed it doesn't mean that it's okay. You signed it. It's fucking nonsense, but it's got to change. I think people are being really defeatist about this, being like, well, what are you going to do? What you're going to do is you're going to fucking change it. What you're going to do is you're going to allow these things to be digital generational accounts that could perceivably exist for 50 or 100 years between fucking people that maybe you can't buy or sell them, but maybe you can. Why not? But like, to me, it's, I don't know where it starts. That's why I'm trying to meet with the congressman about it. It's like, what do we do? Like, I don't expect this guy to help me, especially in Central Virginia. There's no tech industry here. He probably could give a fuck less. But it's like, what do we do? How do we do it? And I think these companies are only responsive to one thing, and it's force. It over and over and over and over and over and over again. You see that. I always bring it up, but like Apple having it's like, yeah, we just use our own power. We just use, and then and the European Commission was like, what do you, like, why? Why?
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, fine. Like, you just need, they didn't have to like find them. They didn't have to put them in fucking a gulag somewhere. They were like, we're going to fuck you up if you don't do this. And they're like, all right, we'll do it. It's actually, it can kind of backfire sometimes too. I think Micah was telling me about this, about Europe has a rule now about electronics having to have replaceable batteries. Have you seen this?
I did see this.
And so Nintendo will just not sell the Switch there anymore. Like Switch 1. Because they would otherwise have to redesign it. And so like sometimes things backfire. And this is what I was saying about people's anger about closed ecosystems generally. Like, I am vehemently against people suing Sony over the monopoly on the PlayStation Network. Like, you're going to ruin PlayStation. You're going to ruin it if you break this monopoly. Like, some of these things are actually at the center of how it works. And by the way, it wouldn't just ruin Sony. Nintendo would be done too. They would both become publishers. And I don't think anyone wants that. So you have to be careful what you ask for. You have to be deliberate in the way you approach things. But I personally, and I don't not support the double negative, the pursuit of physical games. I just feel like a lot of people do justify it based on like, well, they're not going to fix your digital stuff. And I'm like, oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
And this idea that I want to interact with this company and the only way that they'll respect me is if I have physical items that I put into my console disconnected from the internet. It's like, are you out of your mind? I'm sorry. Like,
especially because the disc has so few, like, that's kind of thing. I think we talked about it the last time we talked about this, but presuming that the PS6 does come out and it does have discs, what the hell could possibly be on that disc? Knowing that it's a full generational leap ahead, presumably, and there's been no generational leap ahead for the format. Like, there is no new type of Blu-ray. You're going to get the fucking start menu on that disc. If that.
Right.
Maybe the splash screens you get on the disc. And it's a MOV.
It's the reality of the situation, dude. It sucks.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this even with Crimson Desert. Because Crimson Desert has some sort of time key built into it that won't let the game work until a certain, like so they can get the discs out early. I didn't realize this about this. And I'm like, so what if your PS5 is offline, or like what?
Yeah, or like set to the wrong, it's like set into the future. Yeah. And
he was talking a little bit here about DRM. It's like, I think going after DRM is a mistake too. Like, companies have the right to protect their goods. We're losing sight of like what we're even talking about. This is the whole problem with this. It's like, we got to focus. What is the big thing that affects everyone? Digital ownership. Period.
Sure.
So I've chosen my lane, but I support people to to do their own, and I wish you the very best of luck. But that's what we have to speak about on that, Chris. I am curious what you think about this next piece of news, though. It has turned out that the creative director of Marathon has quit and has left the game in the hands of someone else. Ziegler writes, what's his first name?
Joe Ziegler.
Joe Ziegler. He was the former game director of Valorant as well.
Right.
He says, quote, "Hey, everyone, I've got a bit of an announcement to make. Today, Friday, 7/17, so this was last week when we were published, will be my last day at Bungie, and I'll be passing the torch of game director to the very capable and amazing hands of Del Chafe III, who will, or maybe it's Del Chafe Ill, who will guide the game forward alongside the creative director, Julia Nardin. Both of them have been operating in a strong leadership capacity for the team and are ready to guide Marathon into the next chapter with an even better and brighter future. I'm proud of them, and I'm excited to see them helm the future for this crazy little world we've created together. As for me, I'll be heading to something new somewhere else, and we'll update you on where and what soon. I just want to say a deeply heartfelt thank you to all for supporting me and Marathon in our windy mission to bring a windy mission to bring a. That's funny, man. I never see really windy. Would it be WINDU? I don't know.
I think it's the same word.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mission to bring a dark and terrifying space survival frontier to your screen. The mission will continue in new and surprising ways, so stay tuned for what the team has in store for you. It's been a pleasure seeing all the stories you've created, all the clever ways you've found ways to murder robots and one another. Hopefully, as I move on to new things, you'll join me for those adventures as well. Much love to the Marathon community and to all my friends and colleagues at Bungie. May we cross paths again. Keep it weird. Keep it real. What are your thoughts here on this? The game, I mean, it seems like quite a few people have been maybe bailing out of Bungie. I don't know how to read it. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, well, they just had that monumental round of layoffs. So, I mean, at this point, as of this day, and as of I would probably argue early July, Bungie is now, that is a ship of Theseus. There's literally nobody. Lars Bakken is gone. Jason Jones is gone. Now Joe Ziegler was a more recent addition, to be fair, but he's gone too. So it's just it is really just it is Bungie in name only at this point. So I don't really know what to make of it. It's a shame, but I don't know. I mean, it kind of is what it is, really. I think Marathon's an exceptional video game, but it just didn't hit the way it needed to. So it's and these things happen a lot, and they're going to continue to happen, by the way. So I don't know. I hope that they can somehow keep it going for a little bit at least, because I would like it. The biggest tragedy would be for it to go offline. I don't even necessarily need it to be supported for years and years. I don't even think that was necessarily even something that people were looking forward to in any real meaningful way. But I hope it stays playable in the way that Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 stay playable. My read on Bungie, though, is just I don't know, man. At this point, I don't know. I'd be surprised if they make it through. If they make it to next year, I'll be kind of surprised to see that. That would be nice, but I would be surprised to see that.
Yeah, I really wonder what's going to happen here. For them to turn things around, Sony's going to have to accept that they're going to have to invest.
Right.
And this was the problem from the very beginning. I actually went back to listen to some of the things I was saying when they bought them. And I was saying at the time, I'm like, it seems preposterous to assume that this will ever work, because even if at the time Marathon's big and Destiny continues and they have something else going, they paid billions of dollars. So you have to have this thing that breaks even and then makes billions of dollars, which will then erode away the cost of buying the studio. Then you start making money on it. And it's this seems preposterous.
Right. The death knell is the overpay.
Right.
If they had just sold for a reasonable valuation, it'd probably be in a much healthier space. But
and I think too, I don't know what the literal time would have to be, but in terms of them having to file, but it's Sony seems to have been got so bad on this that I can't believe it actually happened. And I wonder if they're looking and being these guys lied to us. And you and I have talked about this before, about how it's almost certain that they misrepresented them. It seems, you don't want to accuse people of things. It seems like they misrepresented the company in a major way.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I think for certain they did. I almost have no doubt about it. Like the Bungie management has been terrible the entire time that I've been following the studio.
And you would think they would
time.
You would think they would try to claw this back. I think it would look really bad. Like, I don't know how it would do. It would probably be in the courts for years. And also you own them and they're making games. It's like, it's a tough one. It is the worst situation Sony has ever been in with PlayStation. In terms of just, it's just, they spent so much money, man. Like they wasted all of this time and money. And that, we said it ad nauseum, but it's the thing that really sucks about this generation for PlayStation is, because I'm quite satisfied actually with PlayStation 5, but it has nothing to do with them. It really doesn't. For every like a Ratchet or Death Stranding or something that we really liked, it's like, I'm playing 20 games that they don't make, 25, 30 games. So it really has nothing to do with them. But I look at it and I'm like, damn, like, you really fucked up bad. Mm-hmm. I reflect on it all the time, is that I can't get over that these people that had anything to do with this are there anymore. Like, if I were in Nishino or something, I'd be like, I want to know every person who had something to do with this. Like, who signed off on this, who supported it. I want to know everyone, because you guys have no business making decisions for us. And that's the thing that bothers me. I mean, we see a little bit of it behind the scenes, but no one seems to have paid a price for anything. And that shit pisses me off. And when you talk to Jaffe and you hear about the people that were, what's clear now, especially when you hear Shuhei talk about it, is that like the people that were removed, like the Connie Booths and all these people, they didn't want to play ball. They looked at this and they're like, we don't want to do this. What are you doing? And Shuhei has basically said that. Like, that they were like, we're going to do this games as a service thing. We're going to do this transmedia movies thing. He's like, I don't want to do that. And they should be groveling over Shuhei to get him back. And I'm not saying it's like a 10-year project. I'm saying like, come back for 2 years and let's get this thing going again. Mm-hmm. You know, come in, make decisions from a studio standpoint. Set them in motion, find yourself a good steward, and leave again. Who has the taste, who has the capability, who has the boldness. It sucks. I hate it. And I think a lot of the Bungie Marathon thing, man, I'll never get over it. I really won't. I think Marathon's cool. I think Bungie was once a great studio. I think for a fraction of that, they should have bought them. Maybe even $1 billion. It's like, okay. No, I don't think they should have bought them really at all. But you can understand at that point, it's like, all right, you took a little rider on them. Didn't work out, sure. But it's not the end of the world. But it's literally let's assume, I don't know, but let's assume Intergalactic is $400 million. Let's call it 3 or 350. Like, they literally could have made like 10 or 12 of those for the cost that they paid for the studio. Not to mention all the money they've since dumped into it, probably in the hundreds of millions of dollars. And that gets me back to originally what I was saying, Chris, is Sony has a decision to make. Mm-hmm. Do you want to like pare this team back to 200 or 300 people, give them a few $100 million and leave them alone for 5 years? Or do you want to just shut them down?
Yeah.
And I think they have to figure that out. And I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think a lot of it is contingent on what they're probably figuring out about what would be the next game. And how would it be? Like, what would it do? And the thing they should probably do, again, man, it takes too long because really Destiny 3 should be like much closer at this point if they were smart. But
yeah,
they could just like be like, all right, like they could release a press release, they could release a logo and say like, we're making Destiny 3. We've decided based on the outrageous support you guys have shown Destiny 2 in recent months. Marathon's not really working for us. Gummy Bears has been spun off. We're going away for a while now. That might be the best course. We'll see you in 2030 or something. Like, that might be the best course of action, but I just don't know, you know? And by that point, no one might even give a fuck. There's going to be a whole nother palette of games.
There'll be another palette of games. And again, this is a completely different, this Bungie is a very different, this is just, the entire Destiny team is gone. The Marathon team remains in some way, shape, or form. I'm not super familiar with anybody at that studio now. You know, like a lot of the people that I knew that I was familiar with that I was keeping tabs on, they're not at that studio anymore. So even if Destiny 3 somehow does show up, it's going to be it's going to be as if id made it, or like not id necessarily, but like, you know what I mean? Like it'd be as if not Bungie made it, because it really is just the name of the studio now. And I think Bungie's been a great development studio, or like a great outputter this entire time. The issue has always been just like they're terrible with management, and their C-suite just fucked them over for no reason. Well, I guess not for no reason. They made a pretty penny, you know, fucking the studio over and Sony over. But yeah, it's just a bummer, man, because Marathon's really good, and it deserves better. And everybody, I don't know. It's just such a crazy situation.
In a more just.
I think it's a coin flip.
Well, Chris, don't you think in a more just world though, that Marathon could have been one of those ephemeral multiplayer games we talk about that you release, it does well, then you move on, but because everyone stakes their claim on these singular games existing for perpetuity, nothing even has a chance of being something at all if it doesn't last forever, which wasn't the expectation of multiplayer games until the last 10 years. And that I think is another, I'm not saying you want to make these games and they die in a year or whatever. I'm not saying that, but like that was an acceptable kind of thing back in the day. You could make that work even.
Yeah,
you know?
people played many games for years with no updates, minimal balance changes. You know, there would be just like patch notes of like, hey, we found a bug with the grenade in this area. It's 3 months into launch. We fixed it. And then in 4 months you'd get another patch where it's just like, we changed this thing was causing a bit of a hiccup. We fixed that. And then that was it. And then the game that you had was the game that you'll have for the rest of the time that you have it. And people played it and they enjoyed it. And like, I miss that era, man. I do miss. And I get we're in a different space where like we're iterating and we're changing. And to be fair, Marathon has done a pretty good job of switching things up. We'll talk about it later. But like, you know, now that Joe Ziegler's gone, they're kind of pivoting away from this very, very hardcore PvP thing, which I think is still going to be there, but they're trying to get some more casual people in with more PvE oriented stuff, which I think, you know, that's good. But like, I really am with you where I'm just like, it really is a coin flip as to whether or not Bungie lasts through the year, really, in my opinion. I think you'll get season 3 of Marathon. Mm-hmm. I think that'll happen. I think they'll put that PvE experiment out. But dude, again, it's just the worst timing of all of it. Because like, okay, this is potentially the biggest thing it's going to be. Because you'll have people who aren't hardcore PvP players diving in to check out Marathon for what it is, which is, you know, a really solid first-person shooter that feels good, sounds good, is good, without the stress. And it's going to be happening at a time where this glut of single-player games, these massive games are coming out. I think the whole game's like ill-timed, really. You know, I think even if it came out like a year, 2 years earlier, it would have been a different story. But I mean, it couldn't have,
right?
Know?
And this is the problem, I think, Chris, incumbent in doing a Destiny 3 is you just don't know what you're releasing it into. I mean, obviously this is true for everything, but if you're relying on something that is permanent, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. They've already taken. They can continue to write down the assets or whatever, and they've already written down a lot of it. I really, I don't want Bungie to close down. I don't want anyone to close down. And I think Sony made this investment, so I want it to work. I just really have a hard time even squinting and understanding how it's going to work at this point. And I think riding it all on Marathon was foolish to begin with. I think they just put too much pressure on the game. Really, it would have been wise to just keep Destiny 2 going, to just take the pressure off of the game.
I agree. I also don't necessarily, I'm not convinced that Marathon was ever intended to be like, so the way that I feel about it is this: you had gummy bears kind of happening, right? And so that was the thing that was presumably, by the way, working well enough for Sony to be like, we're going to actually take this and bring it in-house, right? So presumably there's something there, right? That spawned out of Bungie, and then they were like, actually, we're going to take this. And then Sony goes like, well, now what do you got? It was just like, well, what do you mean?
Yeah,
you kind of took the thing that you kind of took the thing that was going to potentially be the thing, and now we're stuck with Destiny 2, which isn't working, and it's dying. And then Marathon, which was always kind of supposed to be an interim kind of, like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
So I think there's, and again, it's all, I want to be clear. I think most of this is Bungie's fault. I think the overwhelming majority of it is, both in the management and how they oversold it, and how they had all these like incubation projects that were undoubtedly there, presumed just to inflate the value. Like I believe that that's true.
Yeah.
But I also think it's kind of fucked up for Sony to be like, this is actually good. We're taking this. And now what are you guys going to do? And it's like, well, what? Why?
Yeah. I wonder what that was all about, even why they did that.
Yeah. I'm curious about it, because like, what difference does it make? Like, you own the studio either way. Like, what difference does it make to bring them in house? Like, what does that do exactly? I don't know.
Yeah. Like, it inoculated that team from having to worry, I guess. But I agree with you. It's like, who knows what the staffing even was necessary for that game as it ramped up, but yeah, it is a little bit of subterfuge, it seems like, or it's not really. I mean, that's not really a proper way of looking at it. It really, it's Sony hedging its bets, where it's like, well, we don't want this thing to get fucked up. This at least is okay, because I think it says that they understood what Marathon was going to be early, and again, you just have to read like in between the lines, because they don't speak. You have to kind of take their actions as words in a way, and we'll keep a close eye on this. I'm rooting for Marathon because I think, as I've described it in the past, it's a cool little beachhead in this war. They're on the beach, they're on the sand. I just don't know if they're going to get pushed back into the ocean at some point, and it seems like that might be in the cards. It reminds me a lot. I mean, it's weird. It reminds me a lot of Lawbreakers and Radical Heights. I guess that's on my mind because Cliffy B's been in the news recently about, I don't know if you saw about his alcoholism and stuff, which is interesting. And I'm glad that he's in recovery. But when Lawbreakers, when Nexon spun out and started doing Radical Heights, you knew the game was fucked, because they're like, oh, they're trying to do what they can to survive. And yeah, I think that Marathon's in that loop now, where like it's already broken open what it was supposed to be, because it's not sufficient, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Chris, Bethesda released an interesting letter that I wanted to go into. This was released when we published last week, so we didn't get to go into it. It's a little bit of old news now, but I wanted to add it to our record. This is from Bethesda Game Studios specifically, so the flagship of Bethesda. Because when we say Bethesda, like Bethesda Softworks is like the publisher. Bethesda Game Studio is the actual studio that makes Elder Scrolls, for instance. So you could tell that this was written with Asha holding a gun to someone's head, probably. But here's what it said. Quote, today we want to share what's next for Bethesda Game Studios and what you can expect from us in the years ahead. For 40 years, it's crazy that's been that long, we've built games that have entertained almost 500 million players. More than just games, these are worlds for you to explore, shape, and make your own, worlds we will return to together. That's what's driving us forward. So they get into each of the individual games. Starfield. With over 17 million players, a totally irrelevant number, logging almost 1 billion hours to date, Starfield remains an important part of our future. As we enter year 3, we'll continue expanding the settled systems with new stories, targeted gameplay improvements, and additional updates while preparing for the launch of the new Starborn content next year. More than 40% of players already customize their experience through creations. That's pretty high. And we'll continue investing in creators and giving them new ways to make Starfield their own. So that's Starfield. In terms of the creator stuff, I don't care about any of that stuff about people making. They do say that they've paid creators $10 million in stuff that they've made so far, which actually seems kind of low. The future of Fallout. Here's the meat and potatoes, Chris. Right. Fallout is one of our biggest priorities today. Fallout 5 remains our long-range destination, and we have multiple Fallout projects in active development right now. Fallout 76 continues to be home to millions of players exploring Appalachia together. With nearly 70 free updates released to date, the journey is far from over. In fact, we have a major Fallout 76 expansion planned for next year, Raven Rock, a prequel story to Fallout 3. I can't believe millions of people are still playing that game. Fallout, because I gotta be honest with you, that game always looked like shit to me. I was like, I was like, this is fucking, I don't know, man, but good for them. Fallout. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say they somehow turned that game around. I played it on launch day and I hated it.
They did turn it around. They definitely did. Fallout 4, the most award-winning game in the franchise, which I'm surprised by, just celebrated its 10-year anniversary and recently passed over 35 million copies sold, continuing to attract a new audience every year. It's booming because of the Fallout show, no doubt. We also know many players want to revisit previous Fallout experiences. While we're not announcing any dates today, we've been working on remasters for both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And then they talk about Fallout Shelter, they talk about the show, and Fallout Day, which will be in Washington, D.C. For the 30th anniversary of Fallout. They also say studio collaboration. The Wasteland continues to expand as we team up once again with our longtime friends at Obsidian. We're happy to confirm they're working with us on a new Fallout project. We'll have more to share in the future. This game apparently is being directed by Josh Sawyer, who's the director of New Vegas. And he also directed Pentiment.
Right?
It is interesting, Chris. Every once in a while you see this thing of him going around talking about how much he loves the creation engine. And that gets and that gets into the stuff here, and they're talking about the foundation extends beyond our teams to technology, tools, and systems that will power the next generation of Bethesda RPGs. Our teams are now developing the Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 on Creation Engine 3, a shared technology platform we've been building since Starfield's launch. It allows our teams to support multiple projects simultaneously with new tools, rendering, and systems that define our games. This is important. Fallout 5 is currently in pre-production. The Elder Scrolls 6 is our primary development focus today, with the majority of our team currently working on the next chapter of the franchise. With over 65 million copies sold, players are still exploring Skyrim 15 years later, but we know it's been a very long wait for the sequel. The next chapter is on the way. We're where we plan to be. I highly doubt that. Loving how it looks and playing it every day. I just want to say this real. If you're where you plan to be with Elder Scrolls 6, you guys are fucking out of your minds.
Yeah, wild plan.
You plan to be 15 years out from the Elder Scrolls 5 with no game. That's interesting. It's an interesting place to plan to be. All right, so we have a letter here from Ham Slammer. Says, first time, long time. A New Vegas fluff up is one of the very few games that would make me even consider buying an Xbox console. So my question is this: will any of the numerous Bethesda related announcements find their way across the aisle, or will they be held captive for Asha's endless string of PR wins? Will any precedent be followed with former multi-platform games, or will Xbox change course again in the years to come before we have any solid release dates? I gotta be honest, dude. Some people are not gonna want to hear this, but I find it impossible to believe that they wouldn't put these games on PlayStation. I know that they want to do this new exclusive thing. First of all, like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas remastered are coming to PlayStation. I think that's a given. I could be wrong about that. I think that's obvious.
I think that'd be a safe bet, yeah.
The one that's most uncertain is Elder Scrolls 6 because it's the most immediate. But are they really good? Are they really? Like, really? You're going to skip PlayStation with it. And it's also going to be on PC, so it's not going to sell any Xboxes. So you're really cutting off your nose to spite your face in that, in my opinion. Fallout 5, I said this on the line, people didn't like this. There might not even be an Xbox ecosystem by the time Fallout 5 comes out. Like they're not going to commit to these.
Right.
Because people have, I don't know if you've seen recently, like again, Matt Booty and Matt Ball and all these guys are just saying all this different shit. They won't shut the fuck up. And they were saying recently about like, we don't want people to fixate on single player games and there's going to be exceptions and all the rest. And I'm like, the exception is like, you can't blame them. You can't commit to an ecosystem. Fallout 5 is in the 2030s.
Yeah,
you can't commit to being like, yeah, we're going to bring it to Xbox. It's like, we don't have any fucking idea what you're bringing it to. You have no clue. It's being built on PC and you'll spec it later. But my personal opinion is that Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas are coming to PlayStation. I think Elder Scrolls 6 may not. But because it's it's more immediate. But I still have a hard time believing that. Like it's so expensive, dude. You know?
Well, they had no problem taking $400 million and putting it into Gears and then taking it off.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, so like
that's true.
So it could. I mean, this is the ultimate problem, right? Is that like, okay, you're gonna get an exclusive technically in the sense that it's not on PlayStation, but then it's gonna be on PC anyway. So there's no real reason. There's still no reason. I don't know. I think it'd be insane. I think you put Gears on PlayStation as well. Like, what are you doing? Make your money, bro.
Yeah, I think they've kind of made. It's hard to go back and change the choice at this point.
Especially because they've done it so many times,
right?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I don't know.
I think the remasters are coming. Like I think their justification to their own audience will be like, these games are on PlayStation. It would be,
yeah.
You can make the argument that Elder Scrolls 6 should be exclusive, but it's like you're saying, really, instead of saying Xbox exclusive, what the terminology should be is not on PlayStation.
Right.
Like they should make a brand. You know how it's like it used to say on the top of Xbox is only on Xbox, and that yellow text during the original. Like, it should say in yellow text not on PlayStation. Because that's like that's what it means, with a little trademark logo after it, because that's what it means. And do I think right now they're thinking that yes, I do, but I think they're delusional. Like I think the idea that Xbox hardware is going to turn around is delusional. This generation's done. We're talking about next generation. It's delusional. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Dude, I say the most normal shit about Xbox and people still get upset. I'm not even nearly remotely as hostile as you appear to be.
No, you're definitely not as hostile as me.
It's like, what are you talking? He fucking hates Xbox or whatever. It's like, brother, I just genuinely, I'm telling you, I don't have a reason to buy the next Xbox. I would like one. And to be honest, I would like one because I'm probably going to buy it anyway because I like machines. But I would like to know that at least like my stupid impulse of wanting a new machine is going to be rewarded in some way by having something that I could at least point to and say, hey, I got that for this. That's the problem that I'm having right now with that ecosystem. But I don't know. As far as Josh Sawyer being on this new I mean, good. Excellent. Arguably, this all should have been done a long time ago.
Right. That's the question, right, Chris? What the fuck were you guys doing? Like, yeah, what were you doing?
Even if you were under the impression of like, okay, well, look, we want Game Pass to be a thing. We need to feed Game Pass. Even though it would suffice to just have random passion projects on there, you would assume that, I mean, the big things that people do want would also bring people to Game Pass. So like, why not prioritize that as well? It's a little crazy to me that it took this long to get a sequel to New Vegas or Obsidian working on a Fallout game in any real meaningful capacity. Like that it took this long is crazy. But I mean, it's all good news. The thing that makes me laugh about all this though is that like Fallout 5's in pre-production. So it's like, God damn it, you did it again. You did it again because you did like when Starfield was or not when Starfield was being made, but I guess when Fallout 76 was out, they were like, don't worry, we're working on single player things. Elder Scrolls 6, and it's like it wasn't even a phantom of an idea yet, and now you did it again. Elder Scrolls 6 is still years away, and you're talking about Fallout 5. Now people are going to be asking that, right? Like when Elder Scrolls 6 is being shown off, they're going to be like, well, what can you tell us about Fallout 5? Even though the answer is obviously nothing.
Right.
I don't know.
I agree. I mean, it's a good point in that, yeah, they're following the same primrose path of announcing these things too early out of necessity. But I think I will give them a little credit in saying like they've been so badly run that it is nice for Asha to go in there and be like, you guys have to say, like, I think everyone's confused what the fuck you're doing. I think that's reasonable enough. And so you got to say something at this point. Like,
well, right. I will say it makes more sense for them to talk now than it did for them to talk when 76 was out and they were just like, no, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6. It's like, do you really think that people didn't know that was going to, like, that's what kind of blows my mind about that period in time is that there was any oxygen in the room for the idea that, oh, they're doing Fallout 76, so they're just not going to make single player games anymore. That was obviously not going to happen.
Right.
So like in my opinion, they didn't need to say that. They didn't need to be like, oh, Elder Scrolls 6 is coming in a decade. Because duh.
Right.
Oh, Skyrim's not going to get a sequel.
Yeah, I am I gotta know. I want to know more about. I hope people start writing more about Phil Spencer's time over this, and of course Matt Booty has a lot to do with this too, but just it's like, although Matt Booty's was especially for much of his tenure was more Xbox Studios focused, but it's like, why did you let them do whatever they wanted? Like, why didn't you try to line things up so you had Fallout? Like, Fallout should be going. Elder Scrolls 6 should be out. Like, 15 years between games is fucking nuts. And especially with Starfield, listen, I'm just gonna tell it to you straight. If I were Microsoft after Starfield, I'd be like, this game sucks. You wasted a lot of comparable to your other stuff. You've wasted an enormous amount of time with this. Wrap it up. Like, whatever you're doing here, wrap it up and get back to like what we want you to, like the things that actually you do well. That they're still dealing with Starfield is hysterical. Like, I can't even believe it. It's like, come on, man. But, and 17 million players, like, I don't give a shit. I don't care about your player counts. Don't care. This is the same publisher or the same entity in Xbox that was bragging about Dark Ages being the biggest Doom release ever. And then they laid off a lot of the team. So I don't care about your numbers. I don't care about your player numbers. I care about sales numbers. Much more interesting. The other thing is just the technology. It was silly because I don't really think it's going to work. I was hoping they were going to go on some other engine. I think it would probably be too late for Elder Scrolls 6, obviously, but God, man, those. I hope things changed a lot. Like, I remember playing, it was over 10 years ago now, but when I played Fallout 4, I was like, man, what the fuck? You know, especially because it came out the year Witcher 3 came out and some other things like Dying Light. And I'm like, come on, this is a fucking joke. And that's why that's why going back and playing Starfield, which I did earlier this year when it came to PlayStation, is people know it's like, God almighty, what the fuck? You know, what are we doing? It would be like Telltale still making Telltale games on that old shitty engine. It's like, do something about it, please. So maybe this next one will be better. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree. I like Creation Engine a lot. I miss, and I've talked about this at length before, but it's just like I lament the loss of these proprietary engines because I think a lot of the proprietary engines that we grew accustomed to give us the unique feel of like what we associate the soul of certain games to be. Like, you know, it's the idea that everything's going to be on Unreal or Unity is kind of like, it's a bummer because I think in a lot of cases you can feel that. And I think the way in which Creation Engine is broken and the way in which it doesn't function isn't as detrimental to the game as Telltale's engine, because Telltale's engine is just straight up like not only would it not function, but it would break in ways that aren't even entertaining. Like, the thing about the Creation Engine was that the ways that it would break actually gave you more flexibility in what you could do with the game. Like, they broke open the game in a lot of ways. And so I think that's fun. Like, I want Creation Engine to be better, but I don't want it to feel, I don't want a Fallout game to come out and it's just like, it's on Unreal Engine. It's like, okay, well, I don't really want this. That doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, I understand. We'll see. I think big days are ahead for Bethesda, but I think the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be huge. It's just crazy that everything's just so mismanaged and botched. It's the lack of efficiency in all these institutions shocks me. It's shocking.
Yeah, for how much money there is, like, this entire generation is defined by just like terrible management. Like, this is the generation of where like nobody knew what the fuck to do or how to do it.
You're right. It's interesting.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. All right, Chris, a few more news items I wanted to get through before we get into what we're playing. I thought this was interesting from Eurogamer. They figured out that save game carryovers and time leaping and time leaping will be available in Blood of the Dawnwalker for future games. So we went into what was it, the Summer Games Fest, and we saw that trailer for Dawnwalker, and I was a little disenchanted with it because it's more of a modern day, almost like Mercury Steam Castlevania thing going on. But in an interview that Eurogamer conducted with Konrad Tomaskowicz, who is the director of Blood of Dawnwalker from Rebel Wolves, he said the following to them, quote, "From the beginning, when we talked about the Blood of Dawnwalker, we talked about the whole cycle because we planned a few games and we wanted to tell the particular story we thought about. When you know what you want to say in the next games and where they lead, it's easier to plan the story for the first game and put some events and story elements in which will be the hooks for the next thing that will happen. If you are not thinking about it, then later you have a problem because you start the next game, you have some ideas for the story, and you start to think, okay, I will move the saves for the player and what kind of decisions I should predict and how should it be connected and how to make it smooth and organic and so on. We prefer to do it this way, end quote. So it seems like he said something that he really shouldn't have, which is that like they were thinking the entire time, not only multiple games, which is fine, but of bringing the saves between, and that's a major motivating factor for them. So as you guys might know, the game is being published by Bandai Namco, and they actually released a statement. And they said this, quote, there will be an option to carry the save from the first game, end quote. As you and I have discussed, Chris, in the past, this is exceedingly rare to the point where it seems like it's actually quite difficult. And we took BioWare doing it in the Mass Effect trilogy for granted. There are only a few other games I can even think that do it in a very robust way. The Banner Saga is one of them. So there's not much to say about this, but it's very exciting that they've thought about it to such a degree that they're already promising that the save will carry over. Because I don't know if you remember, that was Mass Effect. That was like a big piece of news for Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
Was that actually the choices you made will carry into the next one. So I'm very, very excited about this. Where are you on this game, Chris? Because it is soon.
Yeah.
Comes out in early September, and I'm really looking forward to this. What about you?
It is in that glut of games. And this is one that I'm like kind of like, I'm curious about it, but it is also one of these things where it's just like I know myself well enough to know that like these games either grab me or they don't, and like sometimes they don't, and sometimes it takes like years. Like Witcher 3 is a great example, right? Where like I played that I think like 4 times before I actually got into it the 5th try. And this strikes me as kind of one of those games where it's like I might just not be in the mood for something like this. But I might. I don't know. When does this come out? This is early September. So this is
I want to
say
September 5. Yeah,
September.
I'll verify for you. Where?
I'm trying to remember like what other games come around it.
Oh, it's like Onimusha.
Yeah.
Control.
That's. Yeah. I mean, those are later. To be fair, that's like at the end of September.
Oh yeah, this is, by the way, it's September 3rd.
Control.
Pardon me, September 3rd for Dawnwalker. Onimusha, I think, got pushed up to the 5th.
Oh right.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a little gauntlet. Good gauntlet.
I'm probably gonna hold off and just wait for Onimusha. To be honest,
yeah,
I'm a lot more interested in seeing like what they're gonna do with that and like how that's going to, like what they're going to do with Onimusha in like a modern context. I'm a lot more fascinated by and a lot more interested in than this game that looks really cool, but also feels like it's going to be a long one. Like, I know that there's a time. I understand there's like a time element to it, but like, this is a deep looking game. I don't know if I have the appetite.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, dude. I was turned off by the modern day stuff, but I'm just trying to go in with an open mind and go into and hope for the best. I mean, these guys have chops, right? They know what they're doing. I hope for the best, but I will say, like, this is a new IP I'm very, very looking forward to. But I like my vampires. I like my Eastern Europe. I like all of that. I like my Transylvania, my Carpathian Mountains, my laurel and garlic. Love all that kind of. And they're leaning in all of that. Again, that first trailer they showed of the guy in the church with the kid is like fucking goosebump worthy. I think that trailer is amazing. We're like, this is fucking awesome. Of course, it's not in game, but whatever. All right, Chris, a few more things to get through. NBA 2K27's cover athletes have been revealed, including Derrick Rose and Caitlin Clark. But what's interesting about this, as I said earlier, is that this will be the first NBA 2K game to skip PS4 since 2013. So they are moving on. It'll be available on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, of course, Steam, and Switch 2. So no Switch version either. Early access August 28th. Game comes out, as we know, already September 4th. So we won't linger too long here, but it's just another example of a major game. I mean, this is a top 10 selling game in the United States every year. It has some global appeal too. It's not like The Show, where The Show is very American, Canadian, Mexican. This is a global entity, and they're skipping PS4. Now, I don't know if you remember this. I wonder how people I don't know anyone who works on this game, but I do know people who work on Call of Duty. And you might recall that when I said earlier this year, when they announced that they were skipping PS4, there were people at the studios that were not happy about that. And I wonder if they're feeling the same way here as well, because it's just fewer copies sold and you just make less money, and then your ship bonuses and your milestone bonuses are lower. But
probably a lot of people too, right? Because you figure like PS4, I would imagine that a lot of people who are still on those machines, those are probably sports people.
Yeah, and I wonder, at some point the old versions hold the game back, right? Because it used to be, you remember the PS1 to PS2 generation or the NES to SNES generation, there were different games made, like totally different products, but now they want these games to be seamless. You even can play with each other across platforms. So getting rid of these old versions, I think it was the argument that the guys that make MiHoYo, that make Genshin Impact, they were saying that about it. It's like, we can't do this anymore. Like, this is hurting the whole game by having to do this. And I wonder if they're going to have a similar justification. It is one of those games though, Chris, along with the show was a big one when they skipped PS4 a couple of years ago. It's one of those games that's going to push people naturally to the next console, or they're just going to stop playing, or they'll play the old one. And I do think that is a big thing too, is playing the old one. As I brought up, it's just an anecdote, but I brought up my nephew's college roommate still plays MLB The Show 20 on PS4, like every day.
It's crazy.
So I think some people are just happy with what they have, especially because in the online ecosystem, the rosters are updated. So like you always have like the newest whatever going. I remember, I think I told you this, Chris, when I used to play the NHL and Madden games on SNES, I used to read the newspaper, and they would have, you don't know this because you don't like sports, but there's always the thing where it says transactions, and it says like, oh, this guy got traded from this team and this guy went here. And I used to go into my games, I would have the paper open. There was a battery in them, so like it would save your settings, and I would literally manually move players around.
Crazy.
Just because it's like, you got like, it's got to be accurate, because you had this. I always thought about that too back in the day. It's like NHL would come out in like September, so EA back in the day had to like seal it in like August, maybe even in July. The rosters are not even set in the NHL remotely by that point, so you'd get this game and you'd be like, what the fuck is this guy doing on this team? And there was like nothing you can do about it for a whole year. And that used to infuriate me. So then they started putting the batteries in the cartridges, and you'd have to do it manually, which I was autistic enough to do. So NBA 2K27, please look forward to it. I know you will. Cool to see Caitlin Clark on the cover.
Yeah.
Cover. I did read something recently, which is so interesting with the physical games thing, though, which is like physical, like covers don't even matter at all anymore. They used to matter. Like it used to be a huge deal to be a cover athlete, and it still is. You get paid a nice amount of money. But back in like the 90s and 2000s, it was a lot bigger than it is now, because that was everyone would interface with you that way. Now you're on the splash screen, I guess, or whatever.
Especially since a lot of these games are live service now, and then their cover art changes with the season, which bugs the shit out of me, by the way.
Yes.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it. I wish I could at least choose. You know what I mean? Give me like, if I could cycle between like whatever my favorite one of the updates that they had, and just like have that be the icon on my screen. Bothers me that I can't do that.
Yeah. A little customization would go a long way, I think. All right, Christopher. Just a couple more things. I wanted to throw this out here. Jonathan Blow's new game's coming to PlayStation. Order of the Sinking Star. There's a video I was watching. They do what they call an extended overview. I will be honest and say that I am not going to be smart enough for this game, I don't think. Which is very similar to The Witness. This is his first game since The Witness. New game. They re-released Limbo. It didn't seem like anyone really cared. Space Oddity wrote in and said, hey guys, Jonathan Blow just announced Order of the Sinking Star is coming to PS5 later this year. After the long PC demo, it's easily one of my most anticipated games of 2026. Mainstream coverage has focused more on disliking John's opinions than on the game itself. Still, it's closing in on 200,000 Steam wishlists. Anyone else planning to try it? P.S. His Sacred Symbols Plus interview is how I discovered Braid and The Witness. Would love to see him back on the show. I think I've said this, and I don't think he'll mind me saying it because I really appreciated the candor, and he's not saying anything wrong, is that I talked to him a few months ago, and I was like, do you want to come back on the show? And I think I said this to you, right, Chris? He was like, he said, I mean, it's not verbatim, but the basic gist was, me going on these shows just turns into headlines about something I said, as opposed to like it being a holistic conversation people listen to. Like a lot of people do, but a lot of people also just click on the headline, and it just creates a lot of drama for no reason. So I understand he kind of wants to stay away from that. I will reach out to him again and ask him. The problem for this is that I'm not going to play this game. And so having him on, and it's not because I'm disrespecting it. I just don't, it's not my kind of game. It looks fucking cool as hell. I just know I remember The Witness and how everyone got caught up in that too. The paper and pencil shit and everyone. I was like, I'm not smart enough for this. Like, it doesn't compute with me.
Right.
So I don't think I'd be the best person to even interview him at present anyway. Are you going to check this game out?
Probably not. I'm kind of in the same mode as you, where it's just like I mess around with The Witness a little bit, but I just kind of, I don't know. It just wasn't my kind of game. And even honestly, even Braid, I thought was fine. Like Braid wasn't really my cup of tea either. Like I think they're good games, but they're just clearly not for me, really, and that's fine. It looks really well made. Like it looks like a quality video game.
I believe.
So I'm sure it'll do well.
Chris, I could be speaking out of school here, but I'm pretty sure that it's built on completely proprietary technology too. Like
that's nice.
Like their own engine, which I think is like so cool that he does that. So, do you have any idea how unnecessary? For but like people out there, do you have any idea how unnecessary that is?
That's like building a camera to film something. It really is crazy.
It's like totally ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fuck out of that. I mean, you're not licensing anything. That's cool. It's just, and he's really into like he loves like tech and engineering and like the problems that those things present. He's very obsessive, very Carmack-like. We brought him up earlier as well. I don't know if you saw this. Diddy Kong's Little Dong wrote in and said, hello, Chris, Colin, and Quitter. How do we feel about the God of War show recasting Kratos because the actor got injured? Should they have waited for him to heal? Don't stunt doubles exist for reasons like this? Most importantly, who will they replace him with? So it has been reported by Deadline, and again, this happened right after we recorded last week, so we weren't able to include it, that Ryan Hurst, who was Kratos.
Haunted by Hulst.
Hulst, yeah, exactly. Jesus Christ. I know, right? They went with him for that. Actually, in Japanese, it would be Hulst, right?
Yeah. That was quick.
Thank you.
It's good.
So he was apparently injured in late June on the set, so weeks ago, and he apparently tore his bicep. But it apparently will take him 4 to 6 months to get back, and they just can't wait, which I think is pretty interesting. So I guess they're going to refilm. He wasn't going to be able to. He wasn't going to be able to even really get back on the set until 2027. So it was going to fuck the whole thing up. So yeah, they've recast him. That's brutal, dude. I mean,
that is pretty.
I'm sure he got paid out and it's fine, but I would be so crestfallen. Now, Chris, conspiracy. Are they kind of being like, maybe this is an opportunity for us to do this again because everyone hated the shots we released of it? And maybe we can figure this out a little bit better and do it better next time. What do you think?
I think it's one of those things where it's just like, well, that's probably a silver lining.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, all right, well, we've done this. We've done a little bit of this now. So we kind of know the pain points. It's kind of like whenever you're fighting your way through a game and then like you lose a save. And it's like, it's frustrating to lose all that progress. But like when you go back through it again, it's like way trivial.
True enough.
I'm sure they probably are just like, well, this is a bummer, but at least they could probably catch up, I think, relatively quickly now that they know what they have to do and what works and what doesn't, what the pain points were. It's just so crazy. Like, what a high profile example of something like this happening. Like, I can't remember the last time I heard about like a recast for an injury.
Yeah, I mean, I always famously, it wasn't for an injury, but I always think of Back to the Future, which I guess is the most famous example of that, of just recasting someone.
Stoltz, right? Eric Stoltz. Yeah.
And I always love watching those shots of like the same shots. They like went back months later and did the same exact shots. And it's so interesting to look at those.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about too, Chris, is the kid, because he's probably growing fairly quickly. And they've kind of, I don't know if that's a contingency as well. But anyway, this will be on Amazon Prime, and I assume we'll get it in the first season in 2027. I'm skeptical of this show, to be honest. But
yeah, me too.
Not because I don't think they can do God of War well. Again, I think a lot of this stuff would be better in cartoon form, but I just think Kratos' imposing physique, especially next to a child, it should be incredible. And who should replace him? I have no idea. The guy who played the Mountain. I remember saying that was the guy who I was saying, I mean, he is genuinely fucking huge. You know?
Yeah, he's enormous. I have no idea. I have no idea who would even be in the running.
I'm trying to see Gregor Clegane.
Look up tall freaks.
Yeah, Harpford Julius Bjormson. He's like I guess obviously he's like Norwegian or something. He's a big dude. I love that fight, but ironically between him and Joel in Game of Thrones. That's a great scene where he's like boasting and he gets fucking fucked up. That show is so violent. I loved how it was so violent that sometimes I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on here? But what a great show. So maybe he's a good option. We should do a very avant-garde God of War, and I'll be Kratos.
That would be avant-garde.
Yeah, that's one word for it. That's one term for it. All right, finally, Call of Duty film. They released just a little something about it. It's going into theaters June 30th, 2028. And apparently it will be based on Modern Warfare, or at least in the Modern Warfare universe. I think people were curious about what, if any of the little, could it be ghosts? But I think Modern Warfare and Black Ops were the only two. And I think that, or doing something else.
They should do Advanced Warfare and get Kevin Spacey back.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if I should say poor Kevin Spacey, because I'm not really sure what happened. Like, it seems like, was he innocent?
So I'm kind of in the same mind too, where it's like, I don't know enough, but the thing that makes me mega uncomfortable was I think that he had there were witnesses that just mysteriously died or vanished. Or
right.
Something.
That's right. And so there was no one to testify. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. And that was I don't know what that means, but
little Frank Underwood energy, perhaps.
A little weird.
You do an impression of him, don't you? Like a Frank Underwood?
I don't. Oh yeah, because I've only seen the first episode of the show. Yeah. How does he sound again?
He's so southern. Long. He's got he's got that southern drawl like that.
Yeah. He's like.
You did it once and it was really perfect, but
yeah,
I won't put you
I
on the
don't know
spot.
how to. I can't. Was that a PlayStation Vita?
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because we were talking about how he's how he interacted with the PlayStation Network.
Yeah, right. Because he played Killzone. That was the best part about him, was that he was a PlayStation player, and he would play legit. I loved that. That was it was like the subtle bullshit. And then the Vita. If anyone out there has not seen the House of Cards Vita scene, just look up House of Cards Vita. Because there is a literal scene about the PlayStation Vita in the game, or in the show. But if he was innocent, what a shame, dude. Because he's one of the great acters. He was awesome.
Yeah, he's a great actor,
awesome.
Yeah.
And they fucking botched House of Cards because of that. And it would be
they definitely did.
And it was such a, and it's like, man, that was such an that was when I was like, damn, Netflix is cooking with gas, dude. With this show. And then I watched the first episode with Robin Wright, only of the last season. I'm like, I'm not doing this. And that was the end of that.
Oh, God.
All right. That's it. That's all we have for the news. All right, Chris, it's time for us to talk about what we're playing. I've been playing Onimusha. And so I'll begin. I randomly on Saturday, maybe Sunday, I was like, I had Onimusha Warlords PS4 port from 2019. I had it at that time. And I beat it at that time, but I'm like, I'm going to go back and replay this. We're in the preparatory period, as I was saying last week. I got to get through some of this Onimusha stuff. I got to get through some Control stuff and Alan Wake stuff. So it's time. And I'm a little bored with GTA 5. I really should just bang it out, because I'm right at the end. I'm just like, come on, I don't want to play right now. So I started playing this game and I beat it. I ended up beating it 4 times. The thing about Onimusha is it's so small and short. And I said earlier that I had an idea for Sacred Plus, and it was just to play through the whole game on stream, which would be fairly trivial. You can beat the game in an hour and a half, pretty much no problem. And it's just funny to look at some of these earlier 3D games and not see the seams in them, but really see how self-contained and overly ambitious they seemed. And they were at the time, and yet they are so manageable. And it's funny because, so I beat Onimusha Warlords and I platinumed at that's number 214. And then I went and started last night playing Onimusha 2, which I have not played in years. I remember very clearly when it came out, because if I remember, and I do remember correctly, it came out the same day Super Mario Sunshine came out. And I remember getting them both the same day, and then it really took a backseat because I was so into Super Mario Sunshine. But it's a much more dynamic and interesting game with a lot more backtracking, and there's different playable characters and optional things that you find and gifts you can give. But for people that are not familiar with these games, they're basically, I would say, fairly obviously heavily Resident Evil influenced action games. with pre-rendered backgrounds and like constant moving camera. Like, you know, I was saying to Mike, I'm like, look how complicated this is. You're walking down like even a corridor, and it's like camera angle here, 2 seconds forward, camera angle here, 2 seconds forward, camera angle here.
Yeah.
All this different stuff. But it's some of the trappings just don't hold up. Like the voice acting in Onimusha Warlords is horrible. Like some of it is so comical. The bad guys are ridiculous. The delivery is ridiculous. It's like we would make fun of Mega Man 8 back on PS1, where it's like, did you get that in like one take? Like we have 10 minutes. Say all of the lines. We got to get out of here. It's very strange. Also, speaking of Mega Man, Onimusha games are produced by Keiji Inafune, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, played Onimusha Warlords 1. For people that aren't familiar with it, again, a sword-based Japanese historical action game with some light role-playing elements. The key to the game is, and I'm sure it'll be in the new one too, in all the games, is you hold the circle button down. When you kill enemies, you use your gauntlet to suck these souls in, and the souls are of different colors. Red souls are used to upgrade. Yellow souls heal. Blue give you mana. And that continues into Onimusha 2, which is again a much more robust game. So yeah, I've really enjoyed playing both of them, and so I'll work through Onimusha 2 over the next few days and see what happens there. But it's been fun to go back, and the first one, Warlords especially, is an extremely nostalgic game for me, because for people that remember, it was one of the first PlayStation 2 games that really mattered. It came out in March, I want to say, of 2001, and so it's around the time Eco came out and The Bouncer and some other things that started to emerge. And then later on in 2001, you end up getting GTA and Silent Hill and all this, and Metal Gear Solid. And it's like, it gets crazy at that point. PS2 like takes off really quick. But I remember, I vividly remember getting it and being so excited to play it. And it really is a good game. You know, you get it's very Capcom. You get S ranks. There's like optional mini games that you do. You can unlock these amazing weapons that make the game trivial. There's ultimate modes of harder difficulties. There's a lot to do, but it really is a small game. And it runs a lot like Resident Evil, where it's like, go and find the key and then go open the door and then kill this guy and grab this thing and put this thing on this pedestal. And it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know about the first one. I assume it is, but Onimusha 2 right now is 50% off on PSN. So I was happy to buy it. And then Powerwash Simulator 2's Star Wars DLC. I bought it for stream on Monday, so people can watch me play a little bit of it on Sacred Streaming. I have done, you do like Mos Eisley Cantina, the Skywalker, like, what would you call it? Homestead. There's an X-Wing, the Death Star Bridge, and now I'm on the Millennium Falcon, which is the last one. And I do appreciate, I mean, there's more for them to explore here if they wanted to, but all old stuff. So like, there's no like, oh, now we're on Naboo or with some bullshit with Rey. It's like none of that. It's all original trilogy stuff, which I do appreciate because that speaks much more to me. But I just love Powerwash Simulator 2. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's Powerwash Simulator. And it actually reminds me most of, I don't know if you remember me talking about this, Chris. It's very obscure, but when they did the Warhammer 40K expansion for the original Powerwash Simulator, I bought all these expansions, even though I have no familiarity with any of the IP. And that one was especially fucking annoying because of the machines and all the little crevices and gizmos and gadgets. And Star Wars has a little bit of a similar feel. Hashim Barakat wrote in about Onimusha, though, and he says, "Good day, super sacred sons." Colin, did Onimusha Warlord setting remind you of the intimate single location of the classic RE games? I got Onimusha's Platinum last month, and they keep reminding me of the mansion of RE1, though it was not as expansive as the mansion. Do you want future Onimusha games to be set in multiple locations or in a single large location? Thank you for the amazing content, and I wish you all a wonderful week. I don't remember Onimusha 4 well enough, but the first 3 Onimusha games, Onimusha 3 is a little weird, but they do take place within these self-contained areas, which is kind of cool, and they connect to each other. It is very much a mansion setup. In Onimusha 1, you're playing in like a castle, basically, and like in the surroundings of like a Japanese, those wooden Japanese castles with like really cool roofs that slant and all the rest. So yeah, really enjoying all of that. I don't know what I'll be moving on to after Onimusha 2, and I kind of wanted, there's Adventure Time Powerwash Simulator 2 DLC that I also didn't get. I also have no familiarity with Adventure Time, so but I got to get to that as well. But that's what I'm playing. Chris, it says here you're playing Vault Breakers, which we know on Marathon, and then Halo Campaign Evolved. So you got? Well,
yeah. So here's the thing. A friend of mine who we connect a lot with through Halo stuff. He was like, "Hey, do you wanna stream Campaign Evolved with me when it comes out?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I could do that." And he was getting he was getting the early access. I was like, "All right, whatever, fine. It's free game time with a friend of mine. Like, fine. I was going to buy the game anyway. It's another $20. Fine." So I'll be streaming that later, like after I record this. People who listen, I think I streamed yesterday and talked about that I was going to be doing it. So if you're hearing this, I've already done it probably. But yeah, so I'll talk about that in a second. I do want to start with this Vault Breakers thing because it is interesting. I talked about it a little bit earlier because it is PvE marathon, but it's a separate thing in that they've turned it into a bit of a roguelike, which is kind of interesting. So it's like you go in with a free kit to this end game map with like the hardest AI, the hardest puzzles. And in typical extraction shooters, you go into the map and you find like guns and equipment and currency, and you extract either by killing other people to get their stuff off of them, or doing puzzle rooms to get stuff off of them, and leave to use that stuff in future runs. In this version, in this PvE, you don't leave with anything other than a very specific type of currency that you can only find in special vaults. These vaults in the normal game have like high-end gear, high-end weapons and stuff like that. In this mode, it's pretty much exclusively this currency. And your goal is to get through as many of these vaults as possible. And when you extract with this currency, it allows you to upgrade your free kit. So instead of having no shield, you have like a normal shield, or like a purple shield eventually, or like a better weapon, or more inventory space so you can load up on more of those things to get more stuff for the next run. And it's cool because you can it's a good way to get, because you can also trade that currency for just equipment for the main game as well. Like if you want to get like a gun, or if you want to get like a shield, or if you want to get something to go into the real PvP, you can do that, but it'll set you back on the currency that'll upgrade your kit, which is useful because the better the kit, the more you can carry, the more capable you're going to be able to deal with the threats that you're going to encounter. It's more interesting than I thought it would be. It's still, definitely a tacked on kind of PvE thing. It doesn't feel as thought out as the rest of the game does, but I've had a pretty good time with it because, as I said earlier, like I like Marathon a lot, but I'm not always in the mood to be sweating or to be upset with like teammates who just can't follow simple direct. I'm not. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I'm thrilled to be angry,
right?
Or or get out by the skin of my teeth and knowing that I could have lost it. Like it's a good feeling. But yeah, so it's cool. If anybody has Marathon and they're curious about that, or like what PvE looks like in that game, I do recommend giving it a shot because it does kind of have a weirdly satisfying hook to it that I think works pretty well. But aside from that, I am playing Halo Campaign Evolved. I've played through the first. I'm at the end of Truth and Reconciliation, so I'm at the very end of the third mission. It came out at 8 a.m. today, my time. So I was playing basically from then until we recorded. It's about 3 hours, 2 hours really. And it's good. It's quite good. It looks very nice. I think they've done a pretty good job at capturing the feeling of the original game in a way that is new and looks very pretty. Like Unreal looks good for the most part. You can definitely see certain, like there's this weird thing, and I wonder if by the time you play it, you'll notice it like I did. There's like a weird, like sometimes when you're changing lighting conditions, when you're going from indoors to outdoors, there's like almost like a static kind of thing that happens. And I don't know what that's about. I've heard that that's an issue with Unreal. And I was a little bummed to see it, but I was happy to see that Unreal is just the visual components in this game, because the underlying engine here is the Halo Reach engine, I think, or like some kit bashed modified version of the Reach engine from back in the day. And I know that because I can see the animations and I can see the way the AI reacts, and I'm like, that's a Reach elite. Because in Reach, the elites will like melee you and they'll do like a 1-inch punch. It's insane. Like there's almost no reaction time. It's just like no animation. They go up to you and they punch you and you're dead. And I was like, oh, that's Reach. That's interesting. And you can kind of feel it, but it feels nice. It's I don't know. It's no less than good. It's kind of exactly what I expected in a lot of ways. There's some minor pain points in my opinion. I think there's too many waypoints. Like I actually did a setting. I've altered it in my settings where like I turned the you can't turn waypoints off, but you could turn the opacity of them way down. So I've done that because like a lot of the original Halo is kind of getting lost in these environments and you're kind of exploring your way through it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to know exactly where I have to go. Like this is kind of the charm of these games and what's cool about it. So like I turned all that off. I would recommend doing that too. But like if you want a more streamlined experience, you could do that too. It's good so far. I think they've captured the look better than I thought they would. It just also is this very like, yeah, okay, we're doing this again kind of. I don't know. It feels very unnecessary. And knowing that they also don't have anything in the pipeline is great.
Right. It is interesting.
Like if this was something that they had and they were like, oh, we're working on the next thing, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, this is a fun little tie. It's a fun thing to tide us over. But knowing that this is it and it's like they've just got nothing, it's just like, oh, my God, what the fuck is going on? What are we doing? I don't know. It's good. I recommend it for people who have not played Halo before. I think it's and I'm playing it on PlayStation, by the way, which is surreal as fuck. I have trophies in Combat Evolved right now, which is very cool.
Yeah, it's very surreal.
Yeah, but it's good. I like it. It's just not exciting or reinventing the wheel for me. But I've also played through Halo Combat Evolved so many times, and that's like my least favorite original Bungie game too. So it's like I've still played through this one so many times. So it's nothing new for me. I'm also like very attached to the original in certain ways. Like there's certain line deliveries that are different that I notice that like bother me, but like most people aren't going to notice that shit, Mm-hmm. So
that's true.
Yeah, I give it a go. I think it's a really solid. It's a solid remake that I think does a good job. And you know what I do want to say too. It makes up for, in my opinion, the disastrously ugly Combat Evolved Anniversary from 2011, which I thought was just so hideous in ways that are just that defy reason. So shout out to them for making a nice looking remake of Halo Campaign Evolved. It's good.
I'm looking forward to playing it.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to pay another $20 for it, but I will.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
So I think the 28th is when it comes out for everyone else, and I will. Maybe I'll even have something to say about it by the time we record again. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, the surreality of it is my favorite part. So
yeah, it's cool to get trophies in it. Like when I saw the Pillar of Autumn pop up in the PlayStation like trophy thing, I was like, that is crazy. It is weird. It probably means nothing to people who are way younger who don't give a shit, but like, it's a surreal thing to see, and it's cool. So
yeah, I will be very curious how it does, because I feel like there's going to be a very there's going to be a gravity around this game, I think, for PlayStation people, especially this summer as things are a little slower. Like you're just your average player signing on and being like, what? Like, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are just not very familiar with things and then being like, what is Halo doing here? It almost feels like it's not supposed to be there. Like it's a mistake or like some sort of shovelware. It's Halo with like a 0.
Yeah, it looks out of place. Yeah. It's like, what is that? War Gods Zeus of Child.
Right. Oh man, good shit. What's the new one on PSN that I saw that they actually changed? It was Gran Turismo.
Yeah, insane.
Cool. Very cool.
Good lord.
All right, Chris, let's get into 6 questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas, and finish this episode up with inquiries from the audience. Remember, if you support us on Patreon, you get early ad-free access to the show and a bunch of other perks, including submitting your inquiries to our show via the news feed. The threads go live on Patreon each week for the various shows, so keep an eye out. Our threads go live on Wednesdays and are deleted Thursdays. ZW begins and says, C-Sticks, with Firesprite being the developer of Until Dawn 2, do you think that it can live up to the expectations set by its predecessor? If it's successful, do you think that PlayStation continues the franchise? And if so, does Firesprite become the Until Dawn studio going forward? Thanks. to answer your last question first is that, yeah, if the game is successful, I think they'll probably continue to put them on there. Here's the thing, Chris, is that a new Until Dawn game every 5 years or something seems kind of nice. And because they could be connected, and they are kind of, I don't want to spoil it, they are kind of connected, but they're disconnected teen horror stories. And horror's kind of killing right now. I feel like this is a place Sony should be. I know that in the film world, people are quite impressed with a lot of these lower budget horror films that have come out or are being announced that are trouncing a lot of things. And of course, that's the place you want to be. These games, remember we looked up Annabelle and it cost like $3 million to make or something, and then it made like $500 million. And it's like, this is the space you want to be in. Yeah. If you can figure it out. So now what are the expectations of its predecessor? Which predecessor are you talking about? Because the Ballistic Moon Until Dawn game is questionable at best. But if you're talking about the supermassive 2015 PS4 release, that is a great game and a high mark to reach. But I gotta say, the Until Dawn 2 trailer kind of got me going. I thought it was kind of cool. I really liked it. I was really interested in it. I like consequential narrative driven games that aren't super gameplay heavy. I don't always want to play them, but I think there's a place for them, and I think this can be an ongoing thing. So I don't know how Until Dawn 2 is going to do. I don't think they did them any favors with Until Dawn remake at all. Ironically, Chris, it would almost be better if they just never did that. Oh, and then they were just like, what happened?
100%.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. And yeah, and Until Dawn 2 just being like, yeah, it's an Until Dawn. Like, imagine how exciting that actually would have been if they were just like, here's Until Dawn 2. And it's like, what?
Yeah, it would have been like, yeah, it would have been a nice surprise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. These games, they're not really for me. Like, I like some of them. Like, I actually didn't hate The Quarry really nearly as much as Colin and Dustin did.
Yeah, I wasn't into it.
I'm into these at varying degrees. I think by the time Until Dawn 2 comes out, I'll be into it. But yeah, man, that remake was the shit that all I did was watch videos of it, and I was like, oh man.
It's weird because we were talking earlier about like set camera angles and how they are a little. It's old. It's an old way to show a game, and people generally want to control the camera in a 3D environment. I think it's one of those examples of be careful what you ask for, because Until Dawn with the tight camera angles and everything, it showed you a cinematic view of the world that you wanted to see. And what I specifically remember about Until Dawn remake is, and I'm going to go back and replay it again before the game comes out to just refresh myself on the story, because they are somehow interconnected. Like, I think Hayden's character's in it and stuff like that. And obviously like the psychiatrist dude, whoever the psychologist dude, whoever the fuck that is. So what I remember about the remake though is like because you can have the camera wherever you are, you're just missing shit. Like there's a specific scene that in the original is showed from like the rafters of a basement. And there's like a rat or something that runs across it, or something happens. And I remember, and I had just played it, and then I remember playing the remake and being like, oh, like I just missed that. And then I went back to the cutscene and looked again, and I'm like, there it is. But like, because my camera was pitched, it's like it just doesn't even happen. And it's one of the, now I'm not saying that Until Dawn 2 should have a fixed camera angle. I don't think it will. But I think Until Dawn 1 was designed around it, and I think disassembling that was a mistake. And the bigger mistake is that a lot of the dudes that were at Ballistic Moon worked on the game. So they knew it better. And I was a little confused of like why no one during this was like, I mean, you're not going to do that to your own project for Sony, but it's like, this is a bad idea. What we really should have done is remastered the original game.
Yeah.
And maybe even hired Supermassive to do it, although I don't know if they're really around anymore. So I think Fire Sprite's whole existence depends on this game. And I am curious to see how it does. I'm excited about it, though. I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll be more excited about it when it's closer and we know more about it.
Yeah.
Joseph Jury wrote into us, Chris, and said, seems the current state of upheaval in the games industry started shortly after the industry-wide movement to eliminate crunch culture. While I realize that correlation does not imply causation and the underlying cause of all this will always be corporate greed, is there something to this? Was the elimination of crunch culture and the improvement of work conditions for devs the cause of ballooning budgets and decreased profit margins? Did this lead to an industry filled with people doing a job rather than people filled with passion doing whatever it takes to create their dreams? Was the games industry actually healthier and in an overall better place when crunch culture was the norm? I think this is a very bold and interesting question, and not an easy question to answer. Not an easy question to ask. I think that there probably is something to do with this. But I think what you have to ask yourself is, like, what is most important? From a fiduciary commercial standpoint, like, the quality of the game is most important. So you, like, enslave these people, right? To, like, get the game out. But really, like, the happiness and work-life balance of your workforce, I think, does pay dividends in the mid to long term. In other words, if you go in and say, like, for the next 6 weeks we're crunching, you're going to work weekends, it's going to be 60 or 70 hours, that's a short-term thing. But if people in the mid to long term expect that that's always going to happen, then I think it becomes a drag, and it makes people question where the production is going, where, like, why you can't figure this out 3 or 4 years ahead of time. And now we have to match this up, Chris, of course, with the idea that, and you and I definitely agree with this because you and I are both very fastidious workers in the creative field. It's like, if you care about something and want to do it right, and you're not pushing papers, you're not doing some bullshit, you're not doing something you would hate, like flipping burgers at a restaurant where you're like, I'm waiting for the clock to be up, so I'm not gonna give another hour.
You're right.
You're right. But when you're in a creative field, when your name is attached to it, when you put 4 or 5 years into something, I don't think that most developers have a problem with not crunching necessarily, but working late. And actually, Dell and I think, talked about this in our Sacred Symbols Plus episode, is that people don't want to be the person on the team that gets up first. Like, it's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, it's 8 o'clock. You're looking around, everyone in the pit is still at their desk. You don't want to be the guy that gets up. And I think that level of peer pressure, I know that peer pressure exists because I've talked to people about it, but I also think that is a major driver of it too. So I don't know that there's necessarily causation here, but certainly if you're letting your workers live a more normal life, which is good, it's going to cost you more to make the games. It's going to take longer, and that's the way it goes. But that's a price worth paying, I think, at the same time. In other words, I don't think there should be a culture, Chris, of like overwork at a studio until it's necessary. And then I think everyone has to understand what time it is. And I think that's kind of the way it goes. Right? We have a deadline. Yeah. We're strapped. Everyone's going to crunch. Right? We need overtime. Mandatory overtime from everyone. You just can't live in a world of permanent mandatory overtime.
Yeah. I just don't think I don't think it's correlated at all. I really do feel like a lot of this is literally just the ballooning of COVID, and everybody just assuming that, like, oh, this industry is going to balloon forever, and then it just didn't. And then, like, what you're seeing is right sizing, and then in addition to the fact that the economy is fucked, I don't think there's really any correlation between, like, oh, the upheaval of the game industry and a wide movement to eliminate crunch culture, because crunch culture isn't eliminated.
No, not at all.
It's just there was never, like, and to be clear, there's people talk about being, made to stay late. But, like, I mean, like you just said, it's just like people who care will stay late. It's not, and people who don't, they'll leave, and that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not, if you're a family man, if you care about your marriage, if you have kids, it's going to be difficult. It's a young man or young woman's game, in my opinion.
Yeah, easily.
But I think it's what I've been telling my nephew is, like, I think your 20s are for work. That's my opinion. Like, I think people are like, I want the perfect job, and I want life work balance and all this. And it's like, you just got out of college. Shut up. Go like work for a while and prove, like, make your bones, and don't worry about anything else. Live to work in your 20s. So that when you're in your 30s, you can work to live, and so on and so forth. At some point, you're going to have to dedicate yourself to something deeply, and it's going to ask something of you. And I think the thing that keeps game developers honest in a way, or at least in the trenches and engaged, is knowing that they will be easily replaced if they can't do it. It's not that rare what you do there, and especially in an industry where everyone's getting laid off. I saw that that studio that made that game Crisol or whatever that people liked. You know what I'm talking about? Crisol. It was like supposed to be some sort of, I think it was some sort of like Bloodborne style or, Souls-like game. But anyway, they just laid everyone off today. So you're swimming in a sea of desperate fish, and you might as well just stay attached to whatever you're working on as long as possible. And I understand that because I've operated in my own capacity in games media that way, where I'm like, I'm not going to be the last person to get up, or the first person rather. I'm not going to be the first person to leave the E3 war room. I'm not going to be the first person to go back to my hotel room. I'm not going to be the first person to go to lunch. I'm not like, no way. Someone else can do it. And everyone will notice, and the managers will notice. It's like there's a political game to be played as well. Anyway, thank you for the write-in. BMJ614 wrote in and said, hello, Original 2. I want to talk about video game sequels and the phasing out of the trilogy in the video game landscape. I feel like video game designers are leaning towards only doing 2 projects and moving on in an IP's lifespan if The Last of Us telltale signs indicate. Hopefully this is not the case. With Overwatch pulling back, literally turning Overwatch 2 back into its former self shows that sequels aren't truly needed. And what the trend in video games will be going forward are expansions and DLC. I myself hope that this will not be the case. So what do you say, wielders of the sacred symbols? Is the sequel and trilogy in video games going the way of the dodo bird, or will it change ever so slightly? I mean, this is really a canny observation in the sense that to get 2 games out requires now the time that it used to take 3 games to get out.
Right.
So I really think that a lot of it has to do with that. Don't you think, Chris? That they probably want to do more. They just can't.
Yeah, I mean, I think there comes a point where you just naturally. I think it's more about the time spent and less about the projects delivered, because you see God of War 2018. You figure what that was in development from, you would imagine
it's like 13, I think.
Yeah, 13 onward. So that's
when the other game got canceled.
Yeah, that's over 10 years, or that's about 10 years working on God of War. And you've only put out 2 games like that. In previous generations, that would have been long enough to make 3, maybe even 4 games. So I think it really is just a matter of the time, and then just the amount of time the people that are spending that time by at the end of 10 years working on God of War, you're like, oh my God, I want to do something else, dude. I want to go elsewhere. Let's do a sci-fi thing. Fuck it. Trilogies, I think are. That's more gone, I think. I'm sure we'll still get trilogies, but
they'll just take a lot longer
They'll take a lot longer, or they'll be like indie or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, I feel like it'd be fairly trivial to make like a smaller game, like 3 smaller games. You know what I mean? Then it would be to build 3 full-on AAA games that are going to take 17 years to finish. It's tricky. I don't think the expansion thing is more likely though. Like I think Overwatch going back from Overwatch 2 to Overwatch is like, that's a rare thing where like Overwatch 2 should have never been a sequel in the first place. Like multiplayer games and live service games don't really need these to the same degree that like single players games do. They don't really benefit from it in the same way that single player games do. So like I think it's just a different ballpark altogether. My curiosity is what they're going to do for like the larger than life game. Like, like we know they're making a Hogwarts Legacy 2, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Presumably, I would imagine.
Oh, most certainly at Avalanche.
So that's interesting, but also like, so GTA 6 is out. Obviously, that's going to be the next big thing. What do they do after that? Is my curiosity. Like, because my curiosity with GTA is like, well, wouldn't you just? Should you just add Liberty City in its own campaign? Like, should you make GTA 7, but like really fold it into 6?
Right.
And like build like almost like a GTA like globe where you can fly from Liberty City to Vice City to San Andreas.
That'd be awesome.
That would be dope as hell.
I think you're right. I mean, it is like, yeah, these platform level things instead of creating new products. Expand them constantly.
Yeah, realistically, Rockstar has they could do whatever they want. I'm just curious about like what happens to games that are just so big, that do you make are you going to risk putting $1 billion into another game?
Right.
Right. I don't know. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I am curious to see how this all goes too. I mean, he brought up The Last of Us. I'm pretty confident The Last of Us will get a third game. I just don't know when that's going to happen. Horizon will get wrapped up in the third game, I assume. So I think trilogy. I love trilogies. It's just we're far away from the Arkham trilogy or something where it's like that was 10 years and not even and in development and you can move on. And yeah, I get disappointed if developers want to linger too much on these things to get more of these games out, which makes sense. You definitely want to do a sequel. Like 007's getting a sequel. There's almost no. I would hope Amazon is not stupid enough.
Right.
They might be, but it's not stupid enough to be like, yeah, we want to do more, but we don't need you. It's like, no, you definitely do. And I hope that I can't wait to see a 007 sequel because the first one is so good. Like, imagine what they can figure out in a new one, because that game really is extraordinary. BMJ, thank you for writing in. Chiral Network Administrator wrote in and said, greetings to the Father and the Son and blessings to the Holy Ghost who chose the busiest time in gaming news to have a child. How dare he? Chris, I know you were on the same pilgrimage as me to one day replay the greatest RPG of all time, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I have had no luck in the endeavor. I hear rumor of a PS4 version that exists but cannot be purchased due to defunct licensing. Have you had any luck? Please, Raygun, show me the path. To that end, is now the time for me to buy a PS2? Given the uncertain future of physical and digital media, should I start collecting the things I want to have for the coming years? Will the lack of new physical games mean that prices of retro gaming hardware will skyrocket, keeping on? So I actually looked this up about Marvel Ultimate Alliance because I'm like, was it released on PS4? And it was. I didn't remember that. Back in 2016, because that game's from 2006. So at some point, and that was on everything. It was on like Wii, and I think there was like a GBA version of it and like all sorts of weird shit. So, and it's funny that they put a GBA version of it out in 2006.
That is crazy.
But I didn't realize that it was delisted. As far as collecting is concerned, I am of the mind that these things are not going to get any cheaper.
Right.
I don't really know how they would or why. I think the only thing that would make them cheaper is a literal lack of demand. Because these things are finite and becoming more and more finite every day. There's never going to be another PS2 made. There's never going to be another PS2 game made. So you have this kind of rarefied thing, and I don't want to listen, do whatever you want. Don't take this as financial advice, but like if you want something now and you feel like you're going to want it later, you have to really seriously consider whether you should just get it now and save yourself the trouble of having to deal with all that shit later. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe the shit just falls out. I don't know. But I think if it was going to fall out in a meaningful way because of emulation, especially, Chris, I think it would have happened already. I think people like to have these things. That's why I was saying it's a bit of a fetish with some people to like have they want the physical good. Like it doesn't matter what other options are there, which is fine. That's great. I think you have to pay attention to that though. So if you want to get in, I think you should probably get in soon.
Yeah. They're just becoming more and more scarce. You know? So like if you've been thinking about getting a machine for a long time, just do it. For that reason. But yeah, as far as Marvel Ultimate Alliance, yeah, I found it. I picked it up at a retro game store. I had the 360 version because I picked up a 360 recently, and that's how I played it initially as well. It's so funny. A lot of these early 360 games have such weird. They're so different because I think I was talking to you about how Call of Duty 2 has like 13 achievements.
Right. Yeah, because they didn't know what to do.
Because they just weren't quite sure. They didn't know what the magic number was. They didn't know like how much the gamer score should be. So it's like it's interesting to peer back and like look at like what they thought about. But I played a little bit of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I like it. It's a very nostalgic game for me. It was like one of the first 360 games that I had gotten. I think I got it from GameFly. I think if I remember correctly, which is crazy. But so I have these weird achievements in Marvel Ultimate Alliance where I'm like I don't know how I got because I'm playing. So here's the thing: I'm playing through Marvel Ultimate Alliance again on my same 360 account, my same exact account. And I just got an achievement where I'm like, how could I have not gotten this the first time? You know what I mean? It was just like beat this person, but it's like, it's a linear story. So it's like, how did I get one later than this? But I don't know. It's interesting. It's cute. That game is so corny though. It's awesome. Like I'm smiling ear to ear because it's just like the most over the top ham-fisted dialogue you've ever heard. It's like the masters of evil have taken the helicarrier, and it's just like, oh my god, this is exactly. It's like a window into when comic books were lame. And that's kind of awesome. Like, it was before the MCU. It was before Iron Man. And
yeah,
it's
that's true.
interesting to play.
2006, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting to play a Marvel video game with absolutely no cinematic influence on its depiction of its characters. Like, none whatsoever. It wasn't like the Guardians of the Galaxy game where where it came out and it was clearly like, oh, well, this is Star-Lord from the movie, or this is Groot from the movie. It's like, this is all just comic books and Saturday morning cartoons and all
That's
the
cool.
influences that was. And it's corny and it's cheesy and it is fun. It's a little wonky. It doesn't feel like the most thought out game. It does seem kind of like, it does feel like bashing your action figures together a lot of the time, but it's cool. It's been nice to revisit.
Yeah,
I recommend
Raven,
it if you can. Yeah,
Raven's dope. And they, of course, did us proud with that Wolverine game a few years later. It's interesting looking at all the platforms it came to, because it came to Xbox, Xbox 360, PC, PS2, PSP, Wii,
Good
PS3,
Lord.
and then Game Boy Advance, but no DS version. And now you could put the Game Boy Advance version in the DS.
Right, and you can play it on one of the screens.
Right. I just find that so interesting. And then, yeah, July of 2016, it was re-released on PS4 and Xbox One. I do not remember that. Marvel, I always thought Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 being a Switch exclusive was weird.
Yeah.
Didn't seem
Very
to move the
odd.
needle really either. Like, no one really seemed to care.
No one gave a shit. It was way too late at that point. Like, what are you doing? That's crazy. But, yeah.
Chris, Dark Side of the Moon wrote into us. Said, hey guys, I've been a police officer for 17 years and a violent gun crimes detective for 10 of those. I've interviewed hundreds of suspects and obtained confessions from many of them. These are the people who make the news for armed robberies, shootings, and murders. They come from all demographics and walks of life. I've also been an avid gamer my entire life. As a way of building rapport during interviews, I usually ask suspects whether they play video games, and if so, what they play. Among those who do, the answer is almost always GTA 5. Rarely do they mention any other games. I've played every GTA title myself, though I may skip the newest one. When I watched the trailer for GTA 6 and saw Lucia and Jason walking into the convenience store with guns, I couldn't help but think of the real innocent store clerks and the bloody crime scenes I've investigated. I also thought about the suspects who will spend the rest of their lives in prison, wishing they could play the next GTA. What do you make of this? I know correlation isn't causation. I'm just two people saying that. And I don't believe violent video games should make violent people. Still, it's difficult for me to ignore this much firsthand experience. Should GTA and Rockstar bear some responsibility for this behavior, or should we instead be looking at family, culture, socioeconomic factors, or society more broadly? Am I reading too much into this? What do you think? It's an interesting and thoughtful question, I think.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Well, I was going to say, I'm of the mind where if you are a violent person, you're just going to be drawn to violent media anyway. Like, that's just kind of the thing. It's like, yeah, like, of course, you know? I don't think it means anything. Like, GTA 5 sold a shit ton. Like, an inconceivable. How many units did Grand Theft Auto 5 sell?
It's like 100. Isn't it like 130 million or something?
It's like some absurd. I feel like there's no way it's 200, right?
Oh, that might best-selling games Wikipedia. Let me see if I can find it for you. GTA 5, yeah, 230 million.
225 million. Yeah, 230 million. So it's just like,
nice.
That is, just for context, how many people are in the United States? About 300 something million?
It's 330, I think, yeah.
330? So the likelihood's fucking high that you're going to run into somebody who has played GTA 5 in some way, shape, or form. And I just think, like, yeah, I think normal people are into violent media as well, but I think also, like, if you are violent, why wouldn't you fit in with the median? Like, why wouldn't you also be a part of that? And just maybe more so.
Right.
I really think it's that simple, honestly.
Yeah, I think things can convince almost anyone of anything. And I think when you, like you're saying, like when you saturate a product in the society like GTA has been, it will find crazy people.
Yeah.
It will invoke into them something. It is up to the individual to be responsible. I look at it the other way, Dark Side of the Moon, where I'm like 230 million people, right? Like you're saying. How many of them were convinced by GTA to do anything?
Exactly.
And it to me, it says more like that actually the games are GTA 5 in a way is actually proof that they're not or at least it suggests that they're not really affecting anyone, because if they were, then we would have like a murder spree on our hands every day of the fucking week, everywhere that you can possibly look, because we're looking at all these people that are playing GTA. So, but I think your heart's in the right place in that it's almost like you're asking something different, in my opinion, which is, why are we okay replicating this level of violence? And I think that is a deeper and more interesting question. Like, the video games reducing to combat, which is what they do almost always in some way. Mario's a combat game, right? Like, all of it. It is interesting. Yeah. And that's why I do really respect the games that try to do something different, although they often resort or reduce down to the same things, like a walking simulator or a puzzle game or something. But at least it's not about murder. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm dying on my cross over here. It's just because it's like, yeah, we are doing a lot of killing in video games. And I think that is worth investigating. Why did we default to this as like the idea of elimination, basically?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
When you think about the early games, they weren't like that. Like Pong was not, or Space War, these kinds of games. Like it wasn't until, and it very quickly got there. But
what's the first one in your memory? Galaga, maybe? Yeah,
like I was thinking Space Invaders, even something like,
right,
like Invaders, something eliminatory, for lack of a better term. And then we were like, yeah, we're just going to do this. And there are other ways to play the games, like score chasing, obviously a racing game. There's a million different, like Chips Challenge and shit like that. Like there's all sorts of different things, but it's like, yeah, that's the more interesting question.
I think it's engaging I think competition is engaging, and there is no more cut and dry form of competition than I killed you.
That's true.
You know, it's not like even the play pretend shit where it's just like, bam, I shot you. And it's like, no, you didn't. And it's like, well, no, you can't argue because you're dead. You can't argue because you're literally, the computer told me that you're dead.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So like, I think it's the least you have to convey. It is an interesting question. In the last episode, I talked about that game that I was playing about like tidying up a library. No combat in it at all.
Right.
And it was interesting. So I appreciate games that don't do it, or that don't default to combat. Mixtape was another one, actually, if you want to get specific. Mixtape had no combat in it, as far as I remember. So I like that we're able to kind of play with what a game is now and explore different avenues of like, okay, what does this really mean? Does it need to be combat? Does it need to be murder? Does it need to be competition? And it doesn't have to be. I happen to like that version of what games are quite a lot. I don't know why, but it just
I mean, I love shooting shit and killing shit in games. Like it's. I think it's important to stop once in a while and ask yourself why. But I wonder too if it gets to. I wonder if there's something to it, Chris, where there's a certain visceral brainstem style thing in us of like, we grew up in a violent environment, and like games are this way for us to get it out of us.
Yeah.
In other words, I wonder if it actually creates like less crime.
I really think what's interesting about this is like I had this discussion a long time ago, and I even did a video about it if I recall correctly. I can't remember what I called it, but I was thinking about violence in video games and like Gears of War in particular. I remember playing Gears of War and trying to imagine what it looks like from the perspective of somebody just watching it, right? And Gears of War, when you're just watching it, is just violence. It is literally, it's just shooting people in the head, their heads exploding, chainsawing people. It's all this incessant violence. But then from the player perspective, that's not really part of it at all. Like, it's part of the accoutrements or whatever, but like what the game really is it's about positioning, and it's about outsmarting, and it's about, you use the chainsaw attack because it locks an animation in, and you know that they can't do anything. They can't retaliate. And so I feel like a lot of these things really boil down to like how satisfying it is to strategize. And it really is less about violence. It's just violence is the easiest way to convey victory or to convey defeat, or like it reads immediately in our brains because we just know what violence is implicitly. And so, like, I think that is really part of it, because whenever I play first person shooters, I'm literally genuinely never thinking about, I'm not thinking about the violent aspect of it. It's not because I'm desensitized to it, or I'm not like, or I'm putting a screen over it. It's literally that's not the satisfying part of it for me. The satisfying part of like playing Halo 3 multiplayer isn't shooting other people. It's, I bounced that grenade off the ground and did damage to your health in such a way that I could hit you once with my gun and not waste any ammo and get you before you could even do any damage to me. Like I outsmarted you.
Right.
And feeling smart is a really addictive feeling. I think it's why social media does what it does, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, everyone's trying to be clever.
Feeds you the dumbest shit because it makes you feel smart. And so you feel good in the way that you feel bad. It's nefarious, but I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. I've thought a lot about this.
What you're saying too, Chris, it's a different angle because it's more about sexuality than violence, but it's what we say about Stellar Blade.
Sure.
Or like, if you're watching that game from the outside, it's about this like buxom, hot Korean chick, but actually like it's not even really relevant to the game at all. And you're not even really looking at her because it's third person. So you're looking at all your surroundings. So like, your own interpretation of it will be different.
Yeah. There's no medium that is more drastically different from, I guess you could argue sports too. Sports is one of those things, like playing a sport and watching a sport is so different. Obviously. But from the perspective of like passive, from the perspective of like two people relatively in the same environment participating in the same event, like watching a video game and playing a video game are so monumentally far away from each other that it's actually crazy, I think. But
final inquiry for us comes from John Black. It says, hey guys, Little Big Planet helped sell me a PS3. Uncharted was the big game I wanted, but Little Big Planet was the one that felt made for me at that age. It was weird, creative, approachable, and easy to play with friends. It even helped me convince my parents that a PS3 was worth buying. That PS3 became a PS4, then a PS5. PlayStation became my default because Sony reached me early with games I couldn't get anywhere else. I understand why Sony is hesitant to fund smaller single-player or co-op games that may not sell millions of copies. They do not generate Fortnite money, move subscriptions overnight, or look especially impressive on an earnings report, but judging them only by immediate sales ignores their long-term value. Kids now grow up playing Fortnite, Roblox, and other free-to-play games available on nearly every device. If everything they love is already on phones, tablets, computers, and competing consoles, why would PlayStation ever become their default? Many smaller, kid-friendly second-party exclusives might not be massive sellers, but it can help put a PlayStation in the house. More importantly, it can make a kid associate PlayStation with creativity, couch co-op, and experiences they cannot get elsewhere. Those kids eventually become adults who buy consoles, subscribe to PS Plus, and build permanent digital libraries. What do you guys think? It's funny, man. Someone else wrote in this week. They used something I never heard before. I think it was called the doorman fallacy or something. Doorman. Yeah. And I had never heard of this, but it's like the doorman fallacy describes the mistake of defining a human role or process solely by its most basic visible function and replacing it with an automaton. And the guy basically was saying like the doorman opens the door. And so they look at this and they're like, all right, we can just have automatic doors. But it's like, well, what about the guy that hails the cab for you? What about the guy that keeps the riffraff out? What about the guy that just makes you feel like you're seen and says hello to you? What about the guy that acts as a concierge and all that, and directs you to the nice restaurant? There's all the shit you don't think of because you're so focused on the doorman and that he opens the door. And it's a very similar thing here where PlayStation might be losing the forest for the trees in a way with this. But I think the problem is that I think they've identified and I would agree with this if it is what they've identified, which is I just don't think things operate like this anymore. Like, I don't think there's any investment really worth making. Think of Astrobot. Right. Astrobot's ostensibly for children. It's sold maybe 3 million copies. It's Sony's most blatant approach to kids games since Little Big Planet. And it didn't really mean anything. And in fact, I think it's a game of the year, but that's adults that are gaming and are engaged. The reality, I think, Chris, is that I don't know that Sony can ever really win with these people. And it's what I think makes them unusually susceptible on the market in the mid to long term, because everyone plays all these other games, but there's just nowhere for them to be. Like, it's part of the reason why I thought it was smart of Sony to invest so much money in games as a service. It's like, can you breach this? But double A games like Little Big Planet, and I love that you called it a second party game. Very, very good, because Media Molecule wasn't owned by Sony during Little Big Planet 1. But could they figure out a way to get this market back? Maybe, but I don't think this market really matters. I think that's just kind of the unfortunate reality. People, this is a major thing that I think people are struggling with PlayStation, is they just don't feel seen like they used to. Everything used to make someone, like Parappa the Rapper made someone feel seen. You know, Tokyo Jungle made someone feel seen. And I don't mean like, oh, this is like, it makes me feel like it's me. It's like, no, this is for you. You want to play Tokyo Jungle. You want to play Africa. You want to play, folklore and all that. But it doesn't, listen, man, like, I'm sad about it. It just kind of is what it is, though. So I like where your head's at, but I don't think that's what's going to make or break PlayStation anymore. I think what's going to make or break PlayStation is can they remain the default, so that when the kid that plays Fortnite and the kid that plays Rocket League and all these things, he's just like, yeah, I play them on PlayStation. That's about the most I think they can ask for at this point.
Yeah, it's just a different environment. I think so let me pull back. I think younger generations now have a lot more competing for their attention than we did. And I'm younger. I'm like, I'm 32, but like, I had like a little bit of social media in its like infancy, competing for my time, and it really wasn't on my phone. Like college was when it was on my phone. So like I didn't really get that. Now it's different. Like you get like entire games accessible on your phone. You get entire, like, you got an iPad from the second that you're born. You have all of these things. Like it's harder to get a PlayStation in a baby's lap than it is an iPad.
Right.
So like I think that's really the problem, is that like we formed connections with these machines from a young age because it was the earliest technology that we could really interface with, that was built for us in any real meaningful way that felt real. Like we had like Fisher Price bullshit or whatever, or like, like Tamagotchis or whatever, but like the PlayStation was like, that was like a real thing. That was like from when I remember when I got my game consoles, it felt like I was getting like a laptop. You know what I mean? Not necessarily specifically, but like the feeling of when I got my laptop was the same feeling that I got when I got like my first console. Like this is an adult machine. Like this is not a joke. And I just don't think younger generations have that, because they've just always had that. And it's hard to compete. If you're not first, then you have to make a case to butt in. And I'm not even saying this is like, oh, young old man yells at clouds type thing. I just think it's like a genuine thing. It's like PlayStation isn't the default for a lot of people, because the default is the internet. The default is apps. The default is scrolling now.
Yep.
And so that's the competition. I don't think it matters about. I don't think having like games for kids necessarily matters. I think having good games matters, and having putting them out at a reasonable clip, I think that matters as well. But I think the war that they're fighting is very, very different than the one that we're envisioning, because I think we're strategizing for an old battlefield. Indeed.
And I think, I don't know, man. That's why I was saying earlier, it's like, I think Sony has big problems.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. I just don't think they're right now, but they're big, and they're coming. They're on the horizon, and I'll be very eager to see how they deal with them. I'll be here one way or the other. Maybe not. Maybe I'll die by then. I have no idea. All right. Chris, that's all we have for this episode of Sacred Symbols of PlayStation Podcast. It was good to be here with you today. Any closing comments before we go?
No, I mean, it's 1:53. I'm going to be streaming Halo in about an hour with a friend of mine, Lyle. Lyle. You know what's awesome about Lyle's best friend is Kyle, and I'm not even joking.
Oh, cool. Lyle and Kyle.
It's hysterical to me.
Love
I was like, you didn't do this on purpose? I don't believe you. But yeah, so that's going to be probably the immediate, probably going to get some food. Haven't eaten yet. But yeah, because I woke up stupid early to play Halo and not eat.
Yeah, well, you're hungry. You're a hungry boy. You're a growing boy.
I'm 32. I did this.
Yeah. It's exciting.
I woke up at 8 a.m. I woke up at 8 a.m. to play a video game that I've played a million times before that I wasn't even particularly excited for and didn't eat.
What a life we live, huh?
What a life.
It's funny. The
you?
name thing's funny, but when I was growing up, my friends group was Mike, Corey, Cody, and Colin. So that's
a lot of C's.
Yeah, a lot of COs.
Yeah. What about you? What do you got going on?
I don't know. It's in the 70s, so I think I might like take advantage of that and go for a walk or something because it's nice. And then I got to work out. And then I want to get back to gaming tonight. And I'm trying to like maximize my gaming time because we're only like I was saying earlier in reference to a letter is the NFL training camp begins next week. So we're like less than 50 days from the season beginning now. And so I just know like my life's going to be dominated by sports again soon because then hockey kicks back in. And so I have a lot of free time right now. And I want to try to really maximize it. So that's what I think I'm going to do. And yeah, nothing too exciting otherwise. All right, my friend.
Good.
Well, it was good to be here with you today and always good to see you and your bright smiling face. I hope you have a good rest of your day and enjoy Halo with Lyle and Kyle.
Yeah.
Hope you all out there enjoyed our show as well. It's always good to be here with you. We appreciate your support on Sacred Symbols. Patreon.com/lastdaymedia to support us if you'd like. Early ad-free access and all the rest. And lastdaymedia.store for merch. We'll see you next time. Until then, goodbye.
Take care, guys.
Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is conceived by, is written by, and is directed by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-hosts are Chris Raygun Maldonado and Dustin Furman. The show is produced by executive producer Dustin Furman. All of Last Stand's theme music is by my best friend, Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand's shows, including Sacred Symbols, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor. Thank you.